Welcome to a Diamond Podcasting Productions original, The Shoot, a pro wrestling podcast with Dan Burke and Drew McKenzie.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Shoot here on Diamond Podcasting Productions, hosted by, of course, YouTube. And we are now entering, it's next Tuesday, the Major League Baseball All-Star break. So summer is flying by as we speak. As they always say, the Midsummer Classic. And Midsummer is now just upon us, coming up next week, where it feels like just yesterday that we were celebrating Memorial Day and that this whole thing was going to be smooth sailing from here and it was going to be a nice long summer. And now, right after July 4th, I'm already seeing back to school ads for Walmart, Target, other retailers out there. Prime Day is next week. So that's kind of a big deal for the Amazon faithful. They never have deals though. They never do nothing that you want, at least. It's always something of some off-market brand that you've purchased from them in the past, or they're just trying to get rid of old stock for their upgrades. Like, oh, the Kindle is that price, not knowing that in 3 months from now, they're going to be unveiling their new Kindle. Like little things that these companies do to kind of get rid of old stock. Also, July, you're thinking it's the beginning of technically the fiscal year from some organizations, but also quarters, things of that nature. So it's a bit of an interesting time. Retailers are already starting to try to make deals, and they're already advertising back to school shopping. After back to school, then for 2 months, you're going to deal with Halloween. And then after Halloween, of course, we get right into the dreaded holiday season. I am, of course, joined by my co-host, Mac. And also, we need to realize our big program coming up in the next few weeks. We're looking at SummerSlam, which literally feels like it's next week. And pretty much it is, considering the fact it's happening on August 3rd this year. And the fact that we just got done another pay-per-view, Money in the Bank, which we will be talking about this evening later on.
Well, we also got news that they're adding another pay-per-view this year, too.
Yes.
Or PLE, excuse us.
Another PLE. But I don't know if it's adding or more or less rebranding, as they are bringing back Bad Blood.
I think it's both, isn't it? Because wouldn't the gap be a little bit too long before that?
Well, if you think about it, Triple H does not like to do gimmick pay-per-views.
This is
which,
true.
Money in the Bank is one thing. I think that's more of an annual event. Technically, you can call it, I think, in my opinion, like one of the big events of the year. The
fifth of the big four.
The fifth of the big four, you could say, right? It's like so the big five, but at the same time, this year felt like a B show, and we'll talk about that later on, and I'll explain why later.
Oof. You're being way more generous than I was being.
Well, no, I'm just saying that as far as it was extremely disappointing.
Yes.
But I was saying in the B show it felt like a pay-per-view of like a Backlash or something like that. But technically this year, the way Backlash's crowd was, you would think that was a main event show that was an A show, top of the line PLE, like WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, or SummerSlam.
Well, I'll bottom line that sentiment right there and just say, out of the calendar year thus far of 2024, this has been probably the worst show.
Yes, and that is saying something.
It is. It is.
Considering the fact that it took them 6 months to get to this point, but glaringly, this was their worst pay-per-view of this year. It's without question. I don't even think it's close. And there were some good decisions. There were some really fucking bad ones, though, too. And we'll explain that later on. We were going to start this week, however, with the week in wrestling. I did want to touch base on the... no pun intended. I did want to touch base, though, on the Fall Classic for baseball next week. As you can tell by my background here with the green monster on my wall, the Boston Red Sox are currently 9 games over 500 heading into the All-Star break. And there is some controversy whether this year the Red Sox will be trading, buying, as you say, or are they going to stay put? They have somehow made the strategy of we're going to really build up our farm system and go on the cheap and kind of do what Houston did for a few years. And we're not going to really put money into the ball club as far as for big free agents is concerned. However, they are 9 games over 500. So the question is, will they buy at the break? And it also proves to me that Alex Cora is probably the best manager in Major League Baseball. And I am also making a bold prediction. If the Boston Red Sox decide that they're going to blame Alex Cora for not tanking this year like they wanted to, I fully expect them to fire Alex Cora at the end of the year. And once that happens, the New York Yankees will come calling for Alex Cora. And because they will shit can Aaron Boone tomorrow if they even have an inkling that they'll be able to get Alex Cora at some point. And I just needed to touch base on that just because of the fact we are heading to the Fall Classic. Well, that's the Fall Classic. We are heading down to the home stretch for baseball where they have already played over half the season. The All-Star game is next week. And there are questions arising, especially with the Red Sox.
I mean, all I can tell you about the Red Sox in the playoffs.
Because I'm not booked.
That is a interesting question. Are they booked?
I'm not booked.
Aren't they booked?
No, I don't think so.
That is the question. Even
Listen,
as buyers.
Even if they are booked for the playoffs, I think they're out in the first 2 rounds. I just don't see it.
You don't see it being a 2021 year where they made it all the way to the American League Championship Series?
I'm going to answer with Okada on this one.
Shut up, bitches!
No, I don't. I mean, listen, I think you have a point about Alex Cora. I think if they can't win, he's gone. And not for nothing, rightfully so, maybe. I know he's had his ups and his downs as Red Sox manager, but I don't know. I'm not confident in this team, and I haven't been for a number of years. So
I'm not
maybe I'm a little conflicted here, but that's how I feel about it. Anyways.
I'm not confident in management, but I am confident in the manager at least. I think Alex Cora has made this team a lot better, more competitive than what has been put out there. I think he's a miracle worker in the sense of he's kind of MacGyvering this whole thing with 2 paper clips and a goddamn rubber band.
Yep.
So I think the Yankees, if they have the inkling to be able to get him, or even the Mets for that matter, because when Steve Cohen's throwing some money out there, you can't really bet against him.
No.
For all we know, too, because of the fact that Dave Roberts has come up short in the last couple of years with the Dodgers, who knows? So it could be 3 of the top teams, the 3 big money teams at least, gunning for his services if the Red Sox decide to let him go at the end of the season. Which would be a travesty just because of the fact that the reason why the Red Sox have been competitive this year and in the last couple of years other than 2018, even though he was the manager then, has been because of the fact that he has gotten the absolute most from the players that he has been dealt. So enough about that. Let's get into this week in professional wrestling. It was another busy week, another banner week for that matter. A lot of interesting news, including a champion from CMLL and New Japan Pro Wrestling jumping ship. And it was virtually confirmed this week by Shawn Michaels. That is a rarity. That is a rarity now in this day and age. And considering the fact also that she was just featured on a major AEW pay-per-view and said, fuck this, I'm not going to this clown show. And is now taking her talents to World Wrestling Entertainment.
I gotta say, man, the more that comes out about this whole story, the funnier it gets to me.
It's quite hilarious.
It really is. And, you know, from the booking obligations this weekend, which she basically tanked, to the AEW having the offer on the table and confirming that essentially after the signing, to Shawn Michaels, like you said, just outright confirming, yep, she's coming to WWE. Just I can't crack up enough about it.
I can't pronounce her last name for the life of me. Stephanie.
Dude, every time I see it, I think of the first Shrek movie.
Yes.
That's what I think of.
Just,
I can't even say that shit.
I can't even pronounce her last name for the life of me. I think she's a phenomenal talent.
Oh, absolutely.
From what I've seen her work in New Japan, I've seen her work in CMLL. And of course, she really impressed everybody against Mercedes Moné at Forbidden Door. But after one match with Mercedes, she is like, I am not staying in AEW. I am not staying with New Japan. I am not staying with CMLL. I am going to go elsewhere. Is it because the fact that she got the Mercedes treatment? Maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe the fact that she had to lose to her with really in this kind of throwaway matchup, because at this point, New Japan Pro Wrestling is desperate. Shimmer is desperate. So they're really hitching their wagon to this company. And their best thought process has been, we'll just stick it on this guy, on this girl, because she has name value and she'll be able to bring us ratings that pretty much at this point have not. Look, they've lost a third of their audience from where they were a year ago, folks. I mean, they were in the 900,000s. Now they are drawing in the high sixes. And they were beat again by NXT this week, except the demo, as Dave Meltzer pointed out, the demo still holds by just 2,000 people by razor thin margin as far as that goes. But the overall viewership, NXT won again. NXT also, now it could be, it could be that NXT won this week because everyone believes in Joe Hendry.
I was really close to putting him on the slide too. Then we ran out of space. So
I'm so glad you didn't.
I know.
It's look. I think it is and I give him credit for the fact of that he was able to go viral when working in TNA Pro Wrestling. But after 600 times of hearing it, and after numerous people just making reference to it, and it's being parodied, it's like, why do I care?
I care.
I care.
That's exactly what I was thinking when I said it too.
Like, it's just, I understand why he is a viral sensation. It is a pretty good, I think, direction that they have gone in. Don't get me wrong, with bringing him in, especially being able to capitalize on his internet popularity. So from that standpoint, I'm with it. I just don't know how long I'm going to be able to take of just like, I believe, oh, Jesus. Like it's it's just, it's one of those things. I'm like, it could be, do I want it to, do I like it now currently? Yes, it's all right. But at the same time, I'm on the edge of just like, okay, enough now. I don't know. I feel like I have to see more a little bit at some point, other than just a little catchy song. Some of his in-ring work is like, I
don't know, Dan. I believe in Joe Hendry.
And that's fine. I understand. I understand. I'm not going to burst your bubble on that.
No, I know.
I'm trying to be more positive about this. I'm trying, like, about newer talent, things like that. I'm trying to be more positive.
What is that? Like, what is that?
Yeah, I'm not doing that tonight. I'm not going to do that. I'm trying to be more positive with this gimmick, and what they're doing with TNA, I also think is really working for both companies for that matter, especially NXT. I think NXT's numbers have gone up, so has TNA's. Even though it's tough to really manage TNA's numbers, because of course everything is done in-house with Access. So
yeah.
You know, but
Well,
regardless,
let's backtrack for a second with this NXT part, and also with Stephanie Baclar, whatever the hell. Farquhar. I obviously think she's going to NXT, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Round her out. Same thing with Juliana. I think it's the same thing. She's going to go to NXT first, round out, and then they'll have two of, in my opinion, the top free agents for the women's division that are there right now. I also want to call credence to the fact of the TNA part, because in January 2025, Jordynne Grace's contract with TNA is also up.
just in time for the Rumble.
Just in time for the Royal Rumble. Yep. And I really believe at this point, after seeing what she has done with the WWE, whether it be in NXT, whether it be at the Rumble, she is incredibly WWE bound.
Oh, it's not even it's not even a debate. Like, don't come here in December and being like, who's going to sign with Jordynne Grace going to sign with? We already know where she's fucking going. Like, it's destination. That's where it is. They probably already have some type of handshake agreement out there. They reworked her contract, pretty much saying, look, I'll stick around for 6 months, but look, they probably went to Anthem and told them, look, we're getting her in 6 months. So you can either work her deal for she's out in 6 months, or we're going to take her in January anyways, and you guys will be shit out of luck. That's the way it is. They have more money. They have more notoriety. And the fact is that they put her on television for a reason. And they are trying to restock the shelves because, let's face it, they don't know if Becky's coming back. Mercedes is in La La Land. Bayley's having a great run, but at the same time, she re-signed last year. I mean, I expect her to stick around for at least another contract or two. But at the same time, you don't know, because women in pro wrestling, they have a tendency, motherhood calls, whether it's by choice or by accident. It just happens. And
wow.
I'm not trying to be negative. Yes. I'm just, look, hey, Ruby Soho was together with what's-his-face for like 2 months, and then all of a sudden she gets pregnant. Was that planned out? You tell me.
I'm just going to not even comment on this situation anymore.
Look, women in the wrestling business, they also have other obligations like acting, motherhood, things of that nature. Books. So you always kind of have to keep an open mind about bringing in talent no matter what. And it's like that in the guy's side. Because again, it's a rarity that you get someone that sticks around for 15 years. It just doesn't go away. He just sits there and he's just a compiler. Like, he compiles all these records and he just won't go away. And you can't see him. He's just there in the corner.
Foreshadowing.
He's not going to be able to dodge my bullets later. And I meant that verbally, not literal. Okay. I don't want this getting out to John Cena, just being like, oh, he threatened to shoot me. No, John. No. I'm taking you down verbally. That's how that's coming. That's coming later. But yes, Jordynne Grace is going to be available for WWE now for their biggest time of the year. So things are lining up. Like, they're lining up where AEW is like, well, we just saw Will Ospreay. We just got Okada. We got Mercedes Moné. WWE is just like, yeah, all right, take her. Wasn't that big of a draw anyways. Wasn't that big of a draw. Wasn't even that good at her character. A dentist is better at her being her.
On that note, yeah. Moving on, it's funny that I feel like the bigger stories of this week were the women's division, or stories at least revolving around the women's division. So Shayna Baszler, who's I guess been backstage a little bit here and there, is finally back in the ring to do a run-in with Zoe Starks, with Shayna Baszler against Damage Control. Ironically enough, I heard Kaden Carter might be out for a while. I think she's actually pregnant now, if I'm not mistaken.
Who is?
Kaden Carter.
Oh my god.
I don't know if that's true or not. I heard something about that. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look it up real quick. Shayna's back. Looks like the women's division is getting yet another stable, which honestly for them I don't think is a bad idea, especially on Raw. We have a 3-hour show. Even if we do or do not know if that's changing or not when it goes to Netflix in 2025. But we'll kind of have to see. But I'm trying to look up the Kaden Carter thing right now. I'm not seeing anything. I heard something like she might be out for a while. I could have sworn it was because of that, but I could be wrong. Let's see if I can just try pregnant on the search and see if it pops anything up. Yeah, I don't see anything. I could have been wrong. Could have been somebody else. I don't know. Anyways, but all the way to the left, since I guess we're going kind of clockwise. Mommy's home.
Ooh.
Mommy's home.
Dom, you got some explaining to do, bud. Holy shit.
I was a little surprised they did it this quickly. I thought they'd wait a little bit. Whether that be SummerSlam or something, I don't know. I'm kind of glad they didn't wait that long, but I heard she wasn't going to be ready before that anyways.
That was the rumor. I mean,
yeah.
I'm glad they did it on TV, to be quite honest. Because,
no, I am too. Yeah.
It would. Yeah, there would have been a nice pop at SummerSlam, but still at the same time, I think
it's more effective on TV.
If you want to do that match for SummerSlam, you need to do this now because you have very little turnover.
Yep.
But you can build up because now there's tension in the blood. There's tension in the bloodline.
Judgment Day.
There's tension in the Judgment Day with the fact of that you have Rhea now coming back. Rhea is Damian Priest is on Team Rhea, where you have Finn Balor now clearly wanting to position himself as the leader of Judgment. And so now that creates friction between Damian Priest and Finn Balor. So firmly, I believe that Finn Balor and the rest of Judgment or the rest of Judgment Day are going to perform a coup at SummerSlam, which will cost Damian Priest the World Heavyweight Championship into the hands of the Ring General.
I think it's very ironic that you and I have the same exact thought process sometimes. That's exactly what I was thinking is going to happen as well. I think something's going to happen at SummerSlam. I don't think
I was just told.
Rhea.
I was just told that she. I was just told from the other room.
Yes.
That my voice she did not like.
Oh.
Why did you like it? Honey, you have to pronounce it properly. It is the Ring General. The Ring General.
Wait, what the fuck is that? Like, what is that?
Oh, man. Listen, I think you're 100% right. I don't think anybody screws Rhea over if she's facing Liv at SummerSlam, unless Dom goes Team Liv. And then I think you're right.
Which is quite possible.
I agree. And then I do agree that anybody not on Team Priest is going to screw him out of that title. 100%.
The question is, where will Carlito lie? Like, will his legions go back to Damian Priest, or will he now?
I feel like every time you and I talk, I think of another soundbite that needs to go into this show, and that is Carlito saying, "That's cool."
That's cool. Or this past week, I'm just like, it's not that hard. It looks pretty hard to me.
Looks pretty hard to me.
No!
It's just, man.
It's literally comedy. And I guarantee you that these are not writers writing for him.
What did she say?
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
And now she's laughing. She really enjoys this. She really enjoys to be able to just yell from the other room to comment on this.
No words, no comments.
She can't hear. She can't
I
hear
know.
you.
I know.
Like,
That's why I'm saying no comment, which is kind of funny, but like no comment. I'm just gonna keep that to myself. And then when she listens to the show, it's kind of like, why'd you say that, Matt?
You think she listens to the show, really?
Wow. What did you say? I do? Yeah, okay.
She listens to it every day. She doesn't need to, she has to live this show every day in her head.
Ooh,
Yeah. No, I don't think there's anything else to really say. I'm glad she's back. It was kind of a shock return, at the end of Raw. I do agree with what you said, obviously, considering it's the same thing. But it'll be interesting kind of to see how that all unfolds. And now that she's back, I think they could push that forward even quicker.
They're going to do Civil War in Judgment Day now.
Liv versus Rhea. The battle for Dom's soul.
God. Well, the fact too that he was just like, there better be some tendies and nuggets. I'm just like, really? We're going with this? Like,
that's how he is in real life, though. Apparently, everybody talks about it. So they did an interview once with different members of the Judgment Day. It was Damian Priest and Finn Balor, and they asked who is the pickiest eater in Judgment Day. And this was before Carlito joined, and they're like, everybody's like, Dom, definitely Dom. And I think it was Kathy Kelly doing the interview with them, and she's like, why? Because all he eats is chicken nuggets and chicken tenders and stuff. So him being his own character at that point kind of is a little funny.
I did have Popeyes tonight, so I get the tendies part. I get that.
Better be some tendies and nuggets, bro. Oh my gosh.
And Steffa understands the nuggets part too. But there's two definitions for nuggets in this house anyway, so.
No. That. No comment there either, because I could think of a different methodology that I'm just not going to say out loud.
No, we're not talking about.
I didn't say that.
We're talking about marijuana.
Oh, okay. I was thinking maybe some Owen Hart up in there or something like that.
Besides chicken and marijuana, or are you thinking?
He might have been thinking about cat shit.
I actually wasn't.
What's wrong with tendies and nuggets? Those are the best foods.
There's a wrestler that was saying that because he's in the midst of a love triangle, so the temptress is like, "I'll cook you something," and he's just like, "It better be tendies and nuggets."
Good
Cornbread, damn it, cornbread.
The $10
the $8 kind.
Oh, the $10. Those who know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Anyway, Bill's just
Cornbread, damn it, cornbread.
Why?
because you closed the window.
I didn't close. I closed the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not trying to be mean, but
Well,
for
he's
him,
mad
why is he mad?
because it's his window.
Yeah, I don't want people getting in the middle of the night.
Smoke.
I just wanted to let you know.
What? He's mad at me?
Yes.
You can open the window if you want.
Disappointed Beetlejuice.
He's fine. He'll forget about it in 6 minutes. He's a cat.
Yeah, he's gone.
Exactly. He's probably under the bed somewhere in the air conditioning.
Stay in bed.
Please.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just played a clip that goes, yeah, yeah. LA Night. Yeah.
Good night.
Night.
I love you.
I love you. Good night.
I love you. Good
He said
night.
Well, I can't hear
He said
you.
he said
Too.
he says I love you. Good night.
I love you. Yes. Thank
Yes,
you. Okay.
yes.
Bye.
Love you. Love her cameos.
All right. I think on that note, that's a perfect segue, unfortunately, to our least favorite topic of the night. John Cena.
Go ahead.
Ooh, man.
I mean,
We'll let this build.
Okay. So after this, we'll segue into Money in the Bank, which is where we found out after he came out. Dan is already annoyed by this conversation, ironically enough, and we just started it. John Cena comes out at Money in the Bank and, you know, has this little towel, but this time it says, "This is the last time." Comes out, makes his argument that going into 2025 will be essentially his last, I'm going to put in air quotes, year with WWE as an active talent. He said a couple more things, he said them differently, but that is the gist of the discussion and why Cena came out. Dan and I have already discussed this, and we'll kind of discuss it a little bit more in detail, obviously, but we kind of started with it as well, saying that this is one of the worst shows of the year so far. 2024, I'm already jumping ahead a year. God, that's how much I want Cena to be out of the picture. I apologize. 2024, this has been the worst PLE, live show, whatever you want to call it. You can make arguments for TV shows and house shows, but when we talk about PLEs and stuff, this is the worst of 2024. Because 2024 so far has been a phenomenal year. We had Royal Rumble. We had Elimination Chamber in Perth. We had WrestleMania. We had Backlash. We had, Clash at the Castle. We had the Saudi show, and I already forgot, King and Queen in the Ring. We had all these shows that were either very good or great, even. I have a hard time saying any of that was good. You might have certain matches that were good, and not, could have been better potentially. We've talked about this in the past, especially this past year at WrestleMania. One that stood out as being incredibly poor was the Usos, Jay and Jimmy versus each other. Not a good match. Not a great match by any stretch of the imagination. This PLE, truthfully, was very bad, right? I think it got saved in certain points by certain people. I'm not going to name names just yet. One of them that did not save it and objectively made it worse was John Cena. I absolutely hated this, and I hate that they parade him out like the GOAT, as you said earlier, and they need to basically tell everybody, hey, this is my final world tour. Essentially that's what it is, right? It's his last world tour. He's like a musician. Last world tour. I don't care. I don't care. I didn't care back then. I didn't care when he went to do the Marine. I maybe would have cared if he was still the Doctor of Thugonomics, just saying. But he's not. I don't care. I loathe the fact that we're supposed to be excited about this. And I loathe the fact that that's exactly how they presented it. They presented it as, oh, you should be so happy. John Cena's finally coming home. He's going to come back for a year. And they made it seem like the guy's going to win another world title, which I would hate that too. We made it seem like he's going to have some great feuds going into 2025 or what is going to be his last WrestleMania. I don't care. He's already had those moments. When he came back, I believe it was last year at WrestleMania, against Theory, he looked like shit. And that's Theory. Dude, he could have farted in the wind and it would have been a great match. It's not what he did.
The Solo Sikoa match, too, wasn't that great? Yeah,
the match against Solo was not great. Even when he ran out at WrestleMania, he didn't look great. And that was a 30-second cameo, basically. He has not looked great. The bald spot's getting worse, John. Please just retire. That's all I want. I just want John Cena to retire now. I don't need any of this other fluff. I don't know what he's going to do after that, if he's going to stay in Hollywood or what. Objectively, I don't care. I just want him to retire from the WWE. You are, at this point, in this stage in your career, you are no longer relevant. You're out there for a cheap pop, and you should be putting over younger guys, which is exactly what you've done the past year and a half or so when you do show up. You put over the younger guy or the existing talent. You don't need to sit there and take these moments away from them. We always talk, whenever we talk about this man right here, about how the upper card is so stacked, and that's why he does not get sustained opportunities. So now you're going to add other guys that really just past their prime and just there for the cheap pops and cheap thrills and take those opportunities away from that guy? Why? And I know that what I am saying is probably an unpopular opinion for a lot of people, but I'm just going to say this. Tell me how I'm wrong. Please explain to me how John Cena being back is not taking away other opportunities from existing talent that objectively deserve it more. Because he's the GOAT, right? Because he's the GOAT. Okay. So is Steve Austin. Steve Austin knew when it was time. Steve Austin also knows, hey, I did what I wanted to do. I came back and had a great match. I don't need to come back now. He knew that. And I'm sure as much as it boiled him up sometimes, he tended to stay away and he put over the younger guys. Even when he was a special guest referee or enforcer or GM or whatever he was, he knew to put over the younger talent. The Undertaker, of all people, knew when to put over younger talent. What are the other guys?
Maven
Same
over.
thing. Yeah, exactly.
Fucking Maven.
Yep. But John Cena has stepped on people's toes to stay in a position where he was comfortable, at that time anyways. He's also stepped on The Rock's toes during that entire feud by saying shit that he said, which he regretted, and good on him for apologizing for it. But still, he steps on people's toes. He does stupid shit like this. He's done it throughout his fucking career. And now, probably inadvertently, I will grant that, he's doing it again. So, this entire situation, to me, probably didn't help. This was on like a C or D PLE and didn't do anything other than annoy people that much more. I know there's people that are excited about this, and listen, each their own. I'll say it that way. Each their own. That's not me, and I know that's not you. So, go right ahead.
Smoke.
John used to have this slogan, right? You know, my time is now. The time is now. John, the time is now for you to just say, it's over. It's over. You've had your day. You compiled all these championship records at a time when no one gave a shit about professional wrestling. You had higher ratings, yes, right? You technically could say, well, when I was there, Raw was drawing this, right? More people were watching cable, right? But more importantly, it's what I saw visually and what I had to deal with being a fan for so long, where I kept going. I kept watching. I kept supporting because I didn't know anything else. As I'm hosting I used to host WrestleMania parties for years. The last big one that I remember was WrestleMania 25, when it was The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. Perhaps the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. Probably the loudest my house has ever gotten for a match ever, mind you. You wrestled Edge and Big Show that night in a triple threat match, and no one gave a shit. But for between 2005 and 2014, you were the number one cause of why my friends got out. I stayed in. I've always been loyal. I've always been loyal to the industry, and that's because of my history and understanding of it. My love of the past industry, my love of the current industry, because I love the fact that wrestling now is kind of cool again. Didn't expect I'd have to see that. Didn't expect that a lot of longtime fans or friends that have been out of this for so long are now checking back in. It wasn't because of you, though. You were long gone. Yeah. You were out. You crossed over. You were now Mr. Hollywood. Mr. I'm going to join the DC universe and become Peacemaker and blah, 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 and do movies. And great. Cool. Good for you. You were a compiler. That's what you were. Nothing more, nothing less. You were on top during a time when nobody cared and they didn't put anybody else out there that matched you, because everybody that did match you left because they saw the writing on the wall. Dave Bautista was literally in WWE for half the time that you were, and is a far bigger star. And that's a fact. It is a simple, unadulterated fact. More people know who Dave Bautista is now because of his time in Guardians of the Galaxy and other films than what you have done. You're Peacemaker on DC when no one really has given a shit about DC in maybe a decade.
But Dan, what about family?
Oh yeah, you're in the Fast and the Furious franchise, a franchise that no one gave a shit after Paul Walker died. Again, an unadulterated fact. You're bland, you're square, you're monotone. Your entire promo career between 2005 and 2014 was a joke. It was the same fucking promo every single goddamn week. And you never took time off.
But word life.
Like, you were the guy that should have been on that part-time schedule just because of the fact that I was sick and tired of you. You cannot be called the GOAT when somebody that's been in the company the last 2 years has outsold you in merch in numbers that you did in 15. 2 years, Cody Rhodes has sold more than you did in 15. You're not in the top 10 anymore. Steve Austin and the NWO are, but you're not. When your shirts were the only thing flying off the shelves for a long time, except when 2011 came, when CM Punk was outselling you. But then for some dumb reason, even when CM Punk was champion for 434 days, you were still in the main event. The championship was semi-main, middle of the card. 2010 SummerSlam. That was the first SummerSlam I could remember. I remember that night well because a friend of mine called me and said, "Hey, I'm going to see Expendables tonight. You want to come?" I went to Expendables, a movie I could have gone any other time. But I chose to go the night of SummerSlam because I had no interest in watching it, because I knew it was probably going to happen and exactly what you did. You took a fucking DDT on the floor and then you kicked out of somebody's finish. And then you came back from like a 2 or 3-1 deficit to beat the Nexus, killing them instantly. Hogan did it, I know. Austin did it to an extent, I know. Shawn Michaels did it. But this was at a time when the mid-card was non-existent. This was at a time where new main eventers, it was like, somebody pointed out to me this, and it annoys me because I don't talk to this person anymore. But he pointed out to me once, he said, if Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker were not a part of those WrestleManias in the mid to late 2000s, those shows would have absolutely sucked because with him on top, it sucked. Can you name a WrestleMania moment or match that he had that is memorable?
Because I'm not booked.
You can't.
Yeah. You can't. It's impossible. And it's not to say you didn't have good WrestleMania matches, but objectively, who cared about them? That's the problem.
All he had to do, at least at one point, was turn heel. He should see what Roman Reigns has done in the last couple of years and think to himself, this is exactly what I should have fucking done.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He played it way too safe. And that's part of his legacy.
So the thing is that, and I know there are people out there who are gonna say otherwise, but I know I get the argument, right? Because if we look back at Steve Austin's heel run, it was bad.
It was.
It was not good. Part of that was because he had such face momentum, right? It would be
no one wanted him to be a heel. That was the problem.
I don't want to say that, but not that type of heel, right?
No.
Because he was the anti-hero face, right? Like that was.
He was always in the gray area, regardless. He could have stayed that way his whole career. And he probably should have.
No, 100% he should have. A face with heel tendencies, and there have been many of them in the past, and it's worked. And to a certain extent, you could maybe say that he was. But you look at that and look at Cena, and Cena would have had to go back to a previous character to be able to pull it off. He wasn't going to be able to pull it off in his current iteration. I know a lot of people talk about Cody and what that heel turn is going to look like, and honestly, I don't think they should turn him heel either. I think he should follow that mold of a face with potential heel tendencies. There are guys that, listen, they can play both sides of the fence, heel or babyface, and it's able to be effective. AJ recently has shown that he could play a face or a heel. I think he's a much better face than he is a heel, but he plays it very effectively. I'm not going to hate on him for it. And he puts on good matches, so fuck, put him on the other side of the fence. I'm happy for it. But that's just not John Cena. It's just not. And I know people out there are like, oh, why not? And he could have done it. And it's like, could he?
No.
Could he? Even as the Doctor of Thugonomics, who's supposed to be technically a heel, he was not heel. He was not.
No. He can't do it. Like, he can't. Like, he just can't. And, everybody brings it out, too. They talk about, oh, he's made over 600 which is, okay, so he's a great human being. Fine. Even though I think a part of that has to do with it. I've been in marketing. Well, I took marketing courses, right? Study communications and things of that nature. Some of the best forms of marketing that they teach you for your brand or for your company, for good PR, is it's a tough word to say, philanthropy, charitableness.
Ooh, man.
Because then it gets everybody behind you. Like, everybody at that point, it's like whenever I talk shit, my mom knows who John Cena is because he does talk shows, shit like that. He's somebody you can put, which I think from one standpoint that I will, and one, not so much criticism, but more or less, I will get behind him on this. He could have run off to Hollywood a few years earlier than he did. After the Benoit thing, he could have said, fuck this, I am out. He could have. Because that was a bad PR nightmare that they were dealing with for a few years there. And he stuck it out. I'll give him that. I will give him probably the biggest credit that I will ever give him out is the fact of that during that time, he put on his cape and ran for that company and did everything he could. And for a guy in that spot to do everything, because you look at the steroid scandal in 91, that unraveled pretty heavily after Hulk Hogan went on the Arsenio Hall show and said, I've never taken steroids I've never taken steroids, only prescribed a few times by my doctor. And it was like, you're fucking lying to us. You're lying. You're just lying. We know you're lying. Here's the biggest, the face of the industry. And he's on Arsenio Hall, which highly rated talk show, one of the biggest ones on the planet. And you're lying. And it made the situation worse. Cena did not do that. He weathered the storm. And for that, I give him 100% credit. But that's where it ends. He's not a GOAT, in my opinion. Is he a top 10 WWE champion? Yeah. Yes, he is. Would I put him up over against some guys that, as far as WWE champions are concerned, I think he's a better WWE champion than like Ric Flair. Because Flair is a better NWA champion, WCW champion than he was a WWE champion.
Okay. I was going to stop
That's the
you.
argument.
Yeah.
That's the argument.
I was going to say,
He had 2 title reigns that lasted maybe 6 or 7 months.
Right.
Total.
No,
So
I'm agreeing with you in that context.
Yes.
Otherwise, yeah, we're gonna have words about that.
No. I think, but that's as far as that goes. And people will be like, "Well, he did better than Bret Hart." Not really. Like,
I think he was a better talker than Bret was. Maybe
that's not saying much.
No, it's not, and that's why.
Yeah, but Bret in '97 was on another level. I thought Bret in '97, that was his best mic work, period. And when he went to WCW, I thought he was just fucking hilarious. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But
I'm thinking more as world champion.
And you could go to WrestleMania 28, and they'd be like, "Well, he drew the biggest buy rate in WrestleMania history because he was facing The Rock."
Yeah, exactly.
It was also a stacked WrestleMania too. You had CM Punk against Jericho for the title. You had Triple H and The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match with Shawn Michaels as the guest referee.
Yep.
There were other matches on that card that sold it, not just Rock and Cena. But yeah, Rock and Cena, that was the big promoted show for a year. Fine, I get that. But, and you put over guys in the last 5 or 6 years. Way too late. Way too late. There were guys a decade ago you should have been dropping to without even question. They should have been deep pushing you probably 2 or 3 years before they actually did. Once you hit 9 or 10 years on top, they got to start thinking about, okay.
Yeah, what's the exit strategy?
We either need to make a change character-wise, or we need to, because it got stale with you real quick. Like you were literal day-old bread within minutes. And chased so many of my friends away from watching the product. And yeah, I do have action figures of you in my collection. I'm going to be the first one to admit it. Because I don't entirely hate you. I don't have the vitriol that I did 10 or 15 years ago. Like, as time has gone on, it's like I've softened somewhat. Is he great? Yes. Is he the greatest of all time? No. He's not on my Mount Rushmore. He shouldn't be on the Mount Rushmore of really anybody for WWE Champions is concerned.
No.
because he didn't hold the championship at a time when people gave a shit about this industry. They only started caring when Roman Reigns turned heel. And Roman Reigns is a perfect example, too, of why heels sell tickets. Baby faces sell merch. The heels sell tickets.
Yeah. Yeah. That's been the discussion lately. That has
Except
to be.
Roman did both.
Roman did do both. Yeah.
Because he sold a shit ton of merch. Not as much as Cody, but goddamn that people get behind Cody. And Cody is as close to a universally accepted world champion by not just the general public, the general audience, but also the marks.
Yeah.
Because when he comes out, it's not boo, it is consistent cheers. Cena, yeah, he's reached the period in his career where they're going to cheer for him because he's not on the top level anymore. But every time between 2005 and 2015, it was probably 2017 even. Yeah. It was a consistent fight, 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, 80-20, 90-10, sometimes 100-0. When he is your top babyface and your world champion.
Yeah. My thing is when you compare him to Cody, I think you have to also compare him to a few other guys, even Seth, even AJ, where you go to France, you go to Scotland, you go even the US this past weekend, and they're singing the song even after the music turns off. You never saw that kind of reaction for John Cena. Never.
No.
You can make the argument for the fan base at the time versus now, and so be it. That still doesn't change the facts. It just doesn't.
It just, he was always somebody that just, and he talks about too, how it was just like, oh yeah, Vince said, oh, he was born to be WWE champion, right? I've heard that in some of his documentaries and stuff that they've talked about him. And it's just like, he had two other things he wanted to do before he got into pro wrestling. He wanted to be in football, couldn't make it. Wanted to be in weightlifting, couldn't make it. Wrestling, I'm sure there was concerns that when he was going to, I used to work with his dad in an indie promotion 15 years ago, and we had a conversation, frankly, and I was pretty frank with him, and I said, I think he's being way too selfish for where the company is right now. Because you think of the late 2000s when people were starting to slow down. You think of the mid-card that they had, which was non-existent. All the guys that everybody online was going for, that he would just come in and just squash them, kill them, dead. And it happens a lot. A lot. Do you know how many goddamn pay-per-views that I bought? How many people would come over to my house every month that just wanted this motherfucker to lose? And he won every fucking time.
Raising my hand right now, by the way.
And every single time we're just like, he's going to lose next month.
Yeet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hated it. And I remember one of our friends, who I will not name, buying the Cena football jersey too. And I remember just like, why the fuck are you wearing that? Why? You know, and I hated it because for me, it's like he's from our area, being from New England, Massachusetts specifically. He is northeastern part of the state, West Newbury, Massachusetts, and it's like, dude, I hate the fact that he's even from Massachusetts. I hate it. Carmelo Hayes, sure, be from Massachusetts, I don't care. There's another guy in WWE NXT, forget his name, he's also from Massachusetts. Great, God bless. I don't claim John Cena. And yes, there's also that broad who's in now in AEW under another name, and yeah, same thing, I don't claim her either.
We don't claim her.
Shut up, bitches!
But if Okada was from Boston, I'd claim him. No?
Yeah, exactly. No question. Like, there's this certain, we claim Conor McGregor. Like, he's from fucking Ireland.
Yeah.
But yet, this area, he was the Grand Marshal at the Southie St. Patrick's Day Parade. That's who we claim. Yeah, John Cena, I was at SummerSlam 06, drunk off my ass. That was the famous night that Boo Ran got started because I was drunk. John Cena lost to Edge, and there were kids crying. There were little kids crying. And I got drunk, and I yelled in these kids' faces, "Why don't you cry in your chain gang towel?" Brah, 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 John Cena lost. I had more parents that night wanting to kick the shit out of me. I had more heat than anybody else.
Dan flashback.
I had more heat that night
Yeah,
than anybody on the card
I know.
because I was leaving the building and everybody wanted to kick my ass.
I thought it was hilarious. I don't really care.
I didn't care. I was drunk too. It was just like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah.
I already had heat because I was wearing a Randy Orton T-shirt when he was facing Hulk Hogan because everybody wanted Hogan to win, and I was just like, no, go with my boy. Nope. Legend killer. Like that whole thing, I was just like, nope.
That's a flashback, my guy.
Yeah.
That is indeed a flashback. All right. I think we should probably get into the rest of Money in the Bank.
Yeah, might as well.
Because I think we spent a lot of time on that one
Fuck
segment
me.
that was like 5 minutes. Yeah. This, as I said, not a great pay-per-view. Or PLE, excuse me. Keep doing that tonight, apparently.
This might be the shortest show ever because we could just review the show and just be like, garbage, 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 garbage.
Yeah.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
Yeah. I just, it's not good.
No.
It's just not. So I guess we'll start just with the first match, which I was a little surprised this was the first match, but I guess it makes sense down the road. The men's Money in the Bank ladder match. So we had Chad Gable, Carmelo Hayes, Jey Uso, Andrade, Drew McIntyre, and was Kaiser in this? I don't even remember if he was in it at that point.
No.
Who was the sixth? I forget now.
LA Knight.
LA Knight, yeah, that's true. Okay. Yeah. Completely, I don't know how I forgot that. Yeah, I don't know where this graphic came from. I just thought it was cool, but it had two guys wrong. Listen. They teased this guy winning. They cheesed this guy winning. And it ends up being Drew McIntyre.
The one guy who didn't need to fucking win it at all.
Yeah.
For numerous reasons.
Yeah. And we were talking throughout. We have a Facebook chat with
Boo Ran.
And we were talking to him about it, and I think we universally agree this was the wrong move.
Terrible decision.
Yeah. When we talked about this last week on the previous episode, we said that it really should be, again, this guy or this guy. And it would have been perfect. One of those two guys winning Money in the Bank would have been perfect. I get why they did what they did, but I don't have to fucking like it.
Didn't need it. The angle with CM Punk is already hotter, so it didn't need this.
No,
didn't need it at
absolutely
all.
not.
You sacrificed, again, pushing two guys that are on the cusp or have been on the cusp for over a fucking year now, just to put it in Drew McIntyre's to further a storyline you really didn't need to further.
Yep.
You just leave it alone and just go and make the right decision. Instead, no. This was a Vince decision.
It really
like,
was.
This would be something Vince would do where I was just like, of course.
Yep. I was really irritated with this because I didn't hate this match. I didn't hate it. It was
good. The finish just killed it.
Yeah, the finish 100%. You took this from like an A to an A+ match to like a D. Just with the finish alone. It was so bad. It was so fucking bad.
Just dog shit. It's just
That's
it's just inexcusable. Inexcusable. Like, and yeah, Triple H has earned good faith, which he has.
Not with this.
But not with this. This is, what are you even doing? Anybody creatively should have walked in on Sunday, or Saturday for that matter, after watching that, or just, if even that was on the table, and just said, no, they're going to hate this. They're going to hate this. It doesn't need it. We don't need to do this. We'll get into why we hate this so much later, but even if this had something to do with it, what happened later, which will even get more worse and got even more worse later on, this was still not the right call at all.
No.
Drew didn't need it. You could have done a part of what happened later on. You could have done it in this match, which would have told the story, and also elevated other people other than fucking Drew McIntyre.
Woof.
Sorry.
Yeah, but you're not wrong. That's the issue, right? Is that you're not wrong. And I think that's an important thing to kind of mention here, is that, again, like, the match itself is not bad. It had its moments. It had a couple of spots that I thought were really impressive. And then they just kill it at the end. And I hated it. And you're 100% right as well with you're elevating the wrong guy. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. If you want to elevate somebody, we talked about this last week, it's Money in the Bank. And it makes absolutely no sense to just sit there and turn around and be like, well, actually, we're going to put it on Drew McIntyre for reasons later on in the night. It's like, why? Why?
Right.
So let's go through that so we can get there. The next match, if I remember correctly, was the Intercontinental match for the Intercontinental Championship. Champion Sami Zayn against challenger Braun Breaker. Again, booked incorrectly.
Completely. I was fucking flabbergasted. Like, back-to-back matches of just like, fucking really? Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, you didn't need to tell the story that you did on Monday with Braun anyways, but like, don't just, he can win in the rematch. Fuck you. Just do it now. Just do it now. Don't fucking wait. Just do it now. You can do a rematch fucking next month. Like, but with Sammy challenging.
And that's the thing.
Like, that's...
You can have the feel-good moment with Sammy retaining it, or regaining it, I should say, at SummerSlam.
No, not even. He doesn't need to fucking regain it.
You're right, but it's a feel-good moment for
run.
SummerSlam, and then you can just redo it that way. I agree with what you're saying regardless, though. Because, again, for me, it's just like, why? Why do you have Braun lose? It's like, to me, we talked about this last time. To me, it's like Braun is a new Brock, right?
Yes.
But he can also be that segue from Gunther to Sami Zayn to Braun Breaker having another lasting title reign with the Intercontinental Championship.
Sammy can be a transitional champion, and he can get away with it. But at the same time, he's not a transitional champion because he ended one of the longest reigning championship in that championship reign in that title's history.
Exactly.
So he's not a transitional champion because he did something that no one thought it could be done. I disagreed with him being the one to beat Gunther. But now I understand if it was just a transition over to Braun, then I'm for it.
Right. I agree.
However, Braun should have fucking won. First, just don't give me the shit. Oh, you can win the meeting. No! First time out, why don't you just have him go over? Simple. Just have him kill the guy. Sammy can take it. It's not going to hurt him. It doesn't hurt him. It doesn't devalue anybody. You know, losing his first time, though, you know who it disvalues? Braun fucking Breaker.
Elliot agrees. Listen,
Holy shit.
I agree. I hated this from the get-go. I'm okay if it's a loss to Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is a grizzled veteran, been there forever. But at the same time, you're going to kill momentum with Braun Breaker. And that's the biggest thing. The dude is a beast. You have him coming out week after week after week after week, just mauling people. And then all of a sudden, in a one-on-one match, he jobs to Sami Zayn. Like why? Why? I don't get it. And that's just my general aggravation with the whole situation. Like, I don't understand it. I just don't.
Two critical wounds to start the show. You're not dead yet, but you're close.
You're getting there, though.
Like, you're getting there. Like, and this is also two gut punches to immediately start a show where it's like, I've already got a bad taste in my mouth. Like, I've really got a bad taste in my mouth right now.
Yep.
And it just gets worse.
Well, it gets better, then it gets worse.
It gets better, and then it's just like, oh, fuck me.
2 more jabs at the end, even though one of the jabs at the end is one we expected anyways. But
yeah, right. Yeah.
So I didn't hate that as much. Still didn't like it the way they ran it. But we'll get there. We'll get there. So if I'm not mistaken, if you're keeping score at home, I believe the women's ladder match for Money in the Bank was next.
Correct.
There's Io, Lyra Valkyria, Naomi, Chelsea Green, Zoe Stark, and Tiffany Stratton.
Yes.
I honestly felt, and maybe it's because of the way they booked this match as well, that this saved the night a little bit.
It did.
It didn't make it a great night, but it saved it a little bit.
It raised the grade up from like a failing grade to like a D or a C.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I would say a C until the next match. Back to a D.
Yes. Then it went back to a D. Of like, oh my god. But this match was without question match of the night.
Yep.
There was no bad performer. Everybody performed at the best they're at. So like, and as we came in, the 2 heavy favorites were Chelsea Green and Tiffany Stratton. And who were the last 2 people on ladders?
Yep.
At the very end, fighting for the Money in the Bank contract? Chelsea Green, Tiffany Stratton. Chelsea Green impressed everybody backstage. She has been getting heavily praised in her performance. Hey, we've said it here. I'll say it again. She has, without question, proven to me that she belongs in the WWE. She belongs where she is. She's not the best wrestler, so to speak, but she is one of the best characters, which in this industry, that's all you want. You want to be able to get a reaction, and she's getting more positive reactions, and she is negative now.
Well, she
was like the home-turn girl.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They were in Canada, so I don't know.
But people are turning on her anyways. They like her. You know, they're laughing with her. They're not laughing at her.
I agree. Yeah.
You know, she's definitely earning, I think, not only in this performance, I think she got a lot more fans. I think that she's definitely her career from this has definitely gone up. Like where she is going to be challenging for championship. She is in a good position. Next year, she could win it. And it could be a much bigger story next year. However,
she could be in the Rumble and win for all we know, or Elimination Chamber and win.
Her winning a championship or challenging for one right now, I would not be mad at all.
No,
I have no issue with her.
We booked her as 1A and 1B with Tiffany Stratton to win Money in the Bank.
Right.
So obviously, if that's how we voted before the event, I'm not going to hate it anyways. But to that point of what you're saying, though, I 100% agree that the stock value of Chelsea Green before was in a good place. Now it's an even better place.
Absolutely.
100%.
And
God.
the fact is, though, that in the end, the biggest right call of the weekend, the absolute right call that everybody on this program has said as well, it's Tiffy time, folks.
It's Tiffy time.
It is Tiffy time.
I'm going to say one more thing before I let you have it back, though. I cannot wait to see the Tiffany Stratton briefcase. I'm just going to say that now. And I couldn't have waited if it was Chelsea either, because let's be real, both of them would have had custom briefcases.
Oh, without question.
You know?
Without question. I think, though, in the end, the right person won.
Agreed. Yep.
She is going to bust out. She's that close. She is going to be someone, I think, that she might, I don't know if she'd be considered a role model. She might. There might be some out there that I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? The mean girl athlete.
Yes.
Who knows?
Yeah. Buff Barbie, Bionic Barbie.
Yep. Exactly. All the titles that she could possibly bestow upon herself. Because who knows? She might be a career heel. But I look at like Alexa Bliss, another mean girl, but again, huge hit with kids. It's just weird like that. And
I mean, Rhea's another one too.
Yeah,
big hit
another
with
one
kids.
too. Just a big hit with kids. But and I'm sure Liv Morgan's probably facing a little bit of the same angst a little bit too. Big hit with kids.
Yep.
Even though she's trying to,
That's a bad word.
Yeah, exactly. Even though I didn't say a bad word. But
I know, but you were definitely thinking it anyways.
But no, Tiffany Stratton is your Money in the Bank winner. I expect her to hold this for a long time, for quite a bit of time. She's going to pick the absolute right time. I don't know if it's going to be within the next 3 to 4 months. Could it be 6? Who knows?
I don't know. It could really depend.
It'll have to do with the Nia storyline. I feel like the Nia Jax storyline. I don't know that she's probably going to cash against. My guess is it'll probably be against Nia, depending on the Nia storyline. If Nia Jax wins the title next month.
So the only real world implication here is that for those that don't know, she's dating Kaiser.
Mm-hmm.
Kaiser is on Raw. So there's always that chance that depending on who's the champion on Raw, she might just, they might say, hey, you want to be with your boyfriend? Challenge the Raw champion.
Does she become the third woman in this double, in this love situation with Rhea?
Christ.
But I could see it where it's Rhea gets disqualified for kicking the shit out of Liv so badly during their championship match at SummerSlam. Here comes Tiffany. It's Tiffy time, baby. And fucking cashes in. Man. The whole place goes crazy. And now but does Rhea get pissed? I don't think Rhea gets pissed because she's just like, causing her. I think because Rhea at that point, it's just like,
yeah. You get a point. Maybe she doesn't care. Just wants to mess her up.
Maybe. Exactly.
Lets it go. And then she challenges just like, at WrestleMania or something.
I could see Rhea smiling from ear to ear with Tiffany Stratton just taking the title from her. It also gives Tiffany getting a rub from Rhea. Like, it adds to it.
Hold on. So I think you're in the right place. I think that would be great. But I also think that you're missing the simple fact here of that whether it's at a PLE other than WrestleMania or WrestleMania itself, Rhea Ripley versus Tiffany Stratton would be a big match.
Oh, yeah, without question.
Because both are heavy-hitting women, so to speak. Both are, buff Barbie versus buff goth Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shit. Just the visual of that alone would be huge, I think.
Both of them probably the high. Both of them are at the probably 1 and 2 of the erotic fan fiction lists for most of these pro wrestling fans out there.
Ooh, man.
That's a first. Erotic fan fiction being mentioned on the shoot.
Cornbread, damn it, cornbread.
It's because it exists, folks. Not saying I write it, not saying I've read it, but I know it exists. Because you hear about it. Like, it just gets brought up. I'm just like, so there's this erotic fanfic, and I'm just like, who's it involved? And then I'm just like, oh, God, everybody is nuts. Everybody's just gone completely crazy. But you have Tiffany Stratton then getting involved in this kind of angle between Liv and Rhea, because then Rhea now, because Rhea winning the championship from Liv, it's expected because of the fact that Rhea is dwarfs her in size, but also because of the fact that she is pissed. So Rhea gets pissed off enough, just levels Liv, either at SummerSlam or the night after, just whips her ass because she gets disqualified for not stopping the attack or some little clinky way that tic-tac way that
Hokey.
yes, little hokey way that Liv retains the title.
I think it's going to happen, yeah. Ironically.
Then you can add the Tiffany factor in there. That's a good possibility. Or it could just be Nia wins and then Nia and her have the tension for a while. I don't fucking know. I think, honestly, it would be a better idea for her to be involved in this Liv-Rhea situation, because the Liv-Rhea situation is already a hot topic on Raw. It's already being heavily talked about with the WWE Universe anyways. So adding Tiffany, who is an up-and-comer, technically, getting kind of the rub from this situation would help her all around in her longevity and also trajectory.
I want
where she
her
wants
to
to
be
go.
absolutely disgusted by Dom, if that's the case. Because that just adds another layer. Because then you can have Liv and Rhea be like, how can you not like him? And then her just be completely disgusted by him, too. And I think that just would be so funny, having a dynamic like that. Like, Dom wants her, she wants nothing to do with him. Rhea's pissed, Rhea also doesn't get why she doesn't want him. And then Liv is pissed that she's on the outside now. And, again, doesn't understand why Tiffany doesn't want him.
Is this next year, I mean, is this the Bloodline, not the Bloodline, but is this Judgment Day Civil War, where we have 2 matches at War Games where it's intergender now, because then well, not intergender, but it's mixed. So It's like Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan are involved. It's just, it's like it's Civil War, because we could be facing that.
So here's the thing. They might not even do War Games at Survivor Series this year.
They might not.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Another factor is you're bringing Bad Blood back. Why not do War Games at Bad Blood? And finalize some faction storylines there to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't know.
That's very true.
It's not a bad idea. And if you do it at Bad Blood, then it reopens the elimination style for a Survivor Series match. So, we don't know. We can only speculate right now. But I see your point, because, first of all, I think if they do a regular elimination match, it's a little bit easier to do intergender. That's part of why I'm saying it too. But you're right. I mean, who's to say that, they don't add more sides to this? JD McDonough and Finn Balor are World Tag Team Champions, so they're probably going to be in the same faction. You're adding in Carlito. You're maybe adding in other women. We have no idea. And I think that, they could play this a little bit and involve Rey and Zelina too. So who the hell knows? Who knows? They could really do anything with this at this point. And
everyone's involved in this. Oh, Jesus.
I feel like it's
The
idiocracy.
1985 Denver Broncos. Mr. Officer Barbrady, Mr. Garrison.
Who ran?
That Cartman mom episode.
Yeah, I got
Who's
it.
Cartman's father?
All right. We've talked about the highlight of the night. Now let's talk about the rest of the shit matches that they had. So, the World Heavyweight Championship, champion El Campeon, Damian Priest, against Seth frickin' Rollins. Seth looked good. It was a good match up until somebody who previously won in the night, Drew McIntyre, decided to attempt to cash in. And then Uncle Phil, who is hiding under the ring for probably the last hour and a half at that point, decided to finally emerge and kind of just ruin the match all around.
And the Money in the Bank cash in.
And the Money in the Bank cash in also.
And the Money in the Bank award, men's winner for the year. Because now we have to wait a year.
He ruined that himself. I don't know what to say. Listen. Am I happy that they engaged CM Punk in this event? Yes. Am I happy about the placement of said interference by CM Punk? No. Why couldn't we do this in the Money in the Bank match and have either or win this match?
I mean, do you do a triple threat now with Drew, Seth, and CM Punk? Which, to me, that's fucking stupid.
They dropped hints. They dropped hints on Monday that they could do that, and I don't want them to. They dropped
hints. But it's like you can get 2 feuds out of this. You don't need to do fucking 2 and 1.
I agree.
Like, you don't need to do a 2 for. You can do 2 programs from this and be able to, like, do Seth and Punk next year at Mania if Punk is healthy, right? Obviously.
Oh, jeez.
But, just
knock on wood now, folks.
Knock on wood. I'm just saying. But you could do it next year. Like, you don't need to, like, rush it now over the summer or, come on. And it could be for the title, too,
I think, hear me out, you do Drew and you do CM Punk at SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the outcome of that match, maybe you do it again at the next PLE. And that either 1A, 1B, again, you either have Seth come out and interfere at SummerSlam or at the next PLE. I don't care which. Then, because all of that situation is unresolved, then you have your triple threat match. And whoever wins or loses, I don't care, but then you can start to build up Seth and CM Punk, like you said. I mean, that makes more sense. I don't like the fact that they, had the extracurricular, as it were, at the end of that match between CM Punk and Seth Rollins gabbing at him. I hated the fact that they called attention to it on Raw. I get why, but I don't like it. Have them focused on the CM Punk and Drew McIntyre story.
All that, and to be fair, Rollins also should have went to Adam Pearce and said, we're not, that stipulation is bullshit because I didn't get pinned. And that got turned into a 3-way, which is a disadvantage for me anyways, because I didn't get pinned. Like Drew, technically Damian didn't beat him.
Exactly.
So Damian can sit there, because he can sit there and look at Damian and be like, yo, like, I'm still doing a rematch. Sorry.
Well, to your point, who's to say that Seth doesn't come out at SummerSlam and help Gunther win? It's just, it's all up in the air, man.
Because we are waiting on the coup. Because if we saw at the beginning of this, Finn Balor was hinting at a coup. And, he's just like, because, Finn Balor wanted him to lose that championship that night so badly, so that way he could just be like, because then Judgment Day, it's like, I'm the leader now because he's out. Which, again, you think Damian Priest, Damian lost by winning, because now he has to still deal with the same bullshit the next day of dealing with these adolescent teenagers playing their PS5 and talking about nuggies and fucking tenders. It's like, what am I doing? I'm a literal sitcom dad here. Just comes in with a shitty ass sweater every day.
Yep.
Dom, now you need to
Fucking-
handle this situation. You just sound like my dad. I am your dad.
Yeah, fucking Bill Cosby up in there or some shit.
Oh, don't bring him up.
I
I was going
had
to say
to.
Bob Saget.
That's a bad word.
Sorry.
Like,
Sorry.
Bill Cosby is in the realm of redacted, so
I know, that's why.
I don't know.
That's part of why I got,
That's a bad word.
you know. Yeah, we'll kind of see how all this plays out, but, you know, still.
I hated it.
I hated it.
I
too.
hated it so much.
Yeah, I hated it too, trust me. The last match of the evening, the main event, is the 6-man tag match. Randy Orton, WWE Universal, whatever, Undisputed Champion, Cody Rhodes, or Cody Raheem Rhodes, as it were.
Mhm.
Kevin Owens versus The Bloodline, which was Tama Tonga, Fatu, as it were, Jacob Fatu, and Solo Sikoa with Tonga Loa outside the ring. Or was it? Oh, I forget their names all, man. I don't even know.
I believe it was Tongaloa. Yeah, you're
Okay.
right. Tongaloa.
Yeah, it was Tonga Loa. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always confuse the two because it's Tonga Loa, Tonga. Bleh. It's like,
Who
fuck.
looked like he got concussed early on with that when he got hit his head on the commentary
Well,
table.
looked like he concussed his brother too when he went for the low blow.
Yeah, that too. Like that, I thought was because of the possible concussion. Like I was going to give him a pass on doing that, especially if he was concussed and still doing the spot. But it also looked like that he wasn't concussed because I think they would have thrown up the X.
It's funny. Well, they wouldn't have for him. He was the outsider of the match, so they wouldn't have thrown up the X for him.
Yeah, but he was still going to be involved in
True. They
they're
could have gone out
different.
to him to check.
Their protocol is different now
it's
than
a
what
little
it
bit
was.
different. Yeah. I thought for what this match was, it was okay, but there were spots like that one I just described where he's supposed to go in for a low blow on KO when he has his brother up.
Missed it.
And dude, I mean, in the moment, I know Billy mentioned it. Shout out.
Who ran?
Ran.
But I know he mentioned it. I was like, nah, man, he didn't miss. Kevin Owens just has massive balls.
It's true though.
Yeah. But I just there was a lot to this match, a lot of moving pieces and parts, and I think some of them were better than others. Not the wrestlers themselves, but just certain parts. I think they got saved a lot by what they were doing on the outside as well. I just overall I didn't like the finish. Now, we talked about this last week, where we expected this finish.
Yeah.
We expected the Bloodline to win this match, and this can set up Solo and Cody, this can set up a potential Roman return, and we knew all that going in. You know, it's the proper progression of how this should play out. But I didn't like the fact that Cody has won some big matches lately. Starting from WrestleMania, he has won 2 against AJ in very strong fashion. Even his win at WrestleMania, despite all the run-ins, very strong fashion. Dude ate so many moves, and then just eats a spike and it's it. It just felt weird.
They're trying to sell the move as devastating. They're trying to sell the move.
Then how does he eat at WrestleMania a spear spike combo and kicks out at 2?
Good question.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a very good question. Like, it's just, look, because I've said the same thing about Solo, and everything I saw from Jacob Fatu in the match, I was like, this guy should be leading the fucking bloodline, not fucking Solo.
He botched a little bit too, but
he botched a little bit, but
wasn't as
goddamn, the
noticeable.
moments that he was involved in, you're like, that
Dude,
guy's got something.
He was a buzzsaw in the match, 100%.
Absolute fucking buzzsaw. He's a killer.
He is.
And he's believable. He's not Solo Sikoa to me, is still not believable. I think that everybody is backing this guy as the horse of just like, well, he's going to be just as good as... No, he's not. You need to get that out of your heads now.
Oh,
Like,
Solo?
you need
Yeah,
to.
no.
No, you need to get that out of your minds now. That is not going to happen. I'm sorry. It just isn't. Nobody cares. The only reason that he has got heat right now is because of what he did to Paul Heyman. And the fact that Roman people have turned him babyface. And
So the one thing I have to say, I have to jump in here real quick, about them turning on Solo and stuff, which I wouldn't say they turned on him per se, but, you know, they hate him more, they want Roman. I have to give it up, however, to that Canadian crowd for the fuck you Solo chants.
yeah.
And even though
That's a bad word.
it just was magic.
It was.
I remember texting you guys like, are they chanting that right now?
Yes.
And then they chanted it again 30 seconds later. That was phenomenal. I loved it.
It was fantastic. It was because I think a lot of people are starting to realize it's just like, yeah, this dude just doesn't happen. Like, there's a reason they kept Jacob Fatu like hidden for so long, because they were like, and I said it here on this program several times. I said he's going to take shine off of Solo. In this match, he took shine off of Solo. But this is the anointed next one. They're going to go with it. And maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. I don't think it will. But that's just my opinion. Because he doesn't do anything spectacular.
He
just doesn't.
And that's the problem.
Solo does not do anything spectacular. There are other guys, you know, look, Roman Reigns makes, every time he hits a spear, he makes me believe it. He hits a Samoa spike, and I'm just like, what? Like, Terry Gordy got that move over 30 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
Like, not now.
I remember asking you a couple weeks ago where we stood with this Bloodline story and any potential for that Survivor Series match. And I hate to say it this way, but I think it's so important to kind of mention it. Obviously, Roman is going to be on an opposing side.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like the most likelihood here would be that Jimmy comes back as a face. Him and Jay, whether it's reformation or not, join Roman. That leaves a fourth. And we already have 4 on this new Bloodline side. And listen, again, this is just me speculating right now. I feel like the best decision that they could make would be to transition Jacob Fatu to the other side and then bring The Rock back as the actual final boss.
I would
chief of that Bloodline.
Get out of my fucking head.
This is what I'm saying, man. That's why I said it earlier. We have very similar thoughts with this stuff sometimes.
Well, because I think it's similar. Because you're right. Because I think Jacob Fatu is so good. He's just gonna turn. They're gonna turn a babyface. Not the company, but the fans. It's gonna be hard for them to cheer against him.
Well, here's the other thing too. That's not a wrong statement, but my other thought process is this. Then you could do the new tribal heirs, as it were, one being Jacob Fatu, then against Solo Sikoa, and then you could have potential tag team title matches for the Usos and the Guerrillas. And
yes.
that's the big thing. It's just like, then you have a 1v1 for all of that, or tag versus tag, whatever you want to call it. That would be phenomenal.
I agree.
You could do it as a Survivor Series match, and then you could transition that to individual feuds between the members of both factions, whether it be True Bloodline versus Neo Bloodline, whatever the hell it's going to look like.
It's going to be Bloodline Wolfpack.
Oh, man. Yeah, who knows? But you're right. I mean, it just makes sense that they would do that. And having a tribal air match between Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa makes a lot of sense. Because
it does.
He cannot last under this thumb, so to speak, of Solo. He's way too talented and popular at this point, even though he's been in one match. People already like the guy.
all you have, whenever WWE signs somebody, people go on to YouTube and look the people up.
Yes. Yep.
So they already have a pre-redeposition that, and it happens in all wrestling companies. And I know that there's probably a portion of wrestling fans that make the argument, well, look at AEW. They don't do that. Like there's plenty of people that like AEW that go on to YouTube and look at a guy that they signed.
Yeah.
There's plenty of evidence that's happening.
Oh, yeah.
I would look at the traffic on people constantly of they debuted and people, it's.
Well, why do you think WWE talks about social media hits all the time?
Exactly.
For the same reasons. So it's traffic, and traffic means people talk about it. So it's, 100%. People definitely go outside of maybe what they would normally watch to watch those other things, whether it be an AEW show, whether it be something from NXT or New Japan or other places. And they did the same with Jacob Fatu, 100%.
It was a very disappointing main event, though. I get why they did it with Cody taking the L. It's a tag team match. I remember when they put it together, I'm like, well, Cody's taking the L. Because that's exactly it. It's a simple formula. If the champion is involved in a tag team matchup against a guy that they're really pushing, 10 times out of 10, the champion loses to that guy.
Yep.
And they have an out because it's a tag team match. So really they lost, but they didn't lose because Cody will retain. I don't see Solo winning the title. If they do, they're idiots. But I don't see Solo winning the title. I see Roman coming back, too.
Exactly. So. Maybe that's the return. It distracts him and Cody picks up the win. They could play it that way. And even if they don't play it that way, if they want to set up for, his next few months, maybe it's The Rock that does instead. Because, if we go back to after WrestleMania, the night after, he gives Cody the watch back and says, your story there might be done, but my story is just beginning. And your story with me, essentially, is just beginning. So who's to say? Who's to say? And you don't need to do Cody and him at Mania. Go ahead.
Well, now with the John Cena factor, because with him
too.
Retiring, now that throws a wrench into the fucking plans. If you're going to do Rock and Cody next year, which, to be quite honest, I think you got to do Rock and Cody next year because I don't know how long Rock has to. If next year could be it. Next year could be it because he's coming in on 30 years in the 30 years in the ring, in and out technically, but 30 years of just this, and I don't know how much longer he would think he has left in the tank to have many matches left.
That's why I think they should do Rock Roman and not Rock Cody. That's why I'm saying this whole Judgment Day Civil War thing. He's on one side, Roman's on the other, and that's the match at WrestleMania.
You mean Bloodline? That's all right because I did it earlier.
Yeah, I know.
1-1. But no, it just. I just don't have faith in Solo as a top guy. I don't.
No, neither do I. I feel like he really has not paid many dues to deserve that. Put him in the main event of SummerSlam. I don't care. That's moot, in my opinion, right? You've got people in the main event previously that probably didn't belong there, but you put them in there, you plug guys in, you have a feud, and then that's it. I don't think Solo was the guy that you booked to win. I don't. And, maybe there is something there that we just don't see. That was there at NXT, and we don't watch a lot of NXT all the time, obviously, and maybe that's why. But at the same token, I also kind of think that, does he have potential? Yeah, but for so long, he's on the main roster, and he doesn't need to talk. And there's nothing really inherently wrong with that, but you were shielding him for some reason And it's not helping him because he's not getting better in the ring, because after a certain point, they hardly feature him except as that enforcer who just goes in and gives people a Samoan spike, and that's it. And his feuds have been few and far between and not meaningful. You haven't even had him try for, like, a mid-card title, for Christ's sake. And it's just, like, natural progression. And, like, listen, people are going to sit there and say, well, Logan Paul had chances at the WWE Undisputed titles or the World Heavyweight title, and before he had that, you know, he didn't have these U.S. or European or intercontinental even kind of championship matches. It's like, yeah, and Logan Paul is not a wrestler, really. Logan Paul is a social media star. You put him out there.
Mainstream social media star. Too.
Oh, sorry, I forgot a word there.
No, I'm just saying. That,
I know.
Like, I'm not
I got
correcting you.
I know. But it's the same with Cena. It's the same with The Rock. They are former guys that came back and then they put them in these main event positions. Yeah, because they were there. They've earned that right. It'd be like if Steve Austin came back tomorrow. Of course, he's not going to. They'd give him a freaking main event championship title match if they wanted to, because he's earned that right. Some people just earn it. I'm not going to sit here and say that Solo Sikoa has. I just don't feel that way. I just don't.
I just can't take him seriously.
I mean, there's
like,
that too.
I just think he's limited. He was fine when he was like the cooler, right? It was the guy you didn't want to fuck with and all that type of stuff. But it's like the role now. It's like he has to be more than that. Yeah. The spot that he's in, and he also has to be. It has, you have to also hold up to this angle that has been revolutionizing WWE, revitalizing their income, their interest in everybody's interested in this product again because of this bloodline storyline. You have to be able to have the confidence to carry this thing. I don't think he has it. I don't think he has. He might have the confidence. I just don't think he has what it takes to back it up. And I think that in the long run is going to be the story as far as people go. I think that he has a ceiling, and I think they're trying to shoot past the ceiling. And
I don't know if they're trying to shoot past it, but I don't know. It's... You know what it is for me is the fact that, and you kind of started saying it, and then you changed gears a little bit, but you started kind of saying that when he first started, right? When he came out as that kind of cooler, right? This guy you could just put everybody else on ice with. And I liken that to when they still had him as the street champ. You know, he had a little bit more diverse moveset than what he has now. I'm not going to say he looks overweight, but he looked like he was in better shape at the time, too. Right. And that's not a knock. It's just that's how I see it. And then they kind of changed this from the street champ to the enforcer, started telling him, hey, your new move is the Samoan spike. And, it's just, they had him talk a little bit even prior to that, but still not a lot. Into like a year, you barely heard anything from the guy. And it's like everybody else in the stable has charisma, but he's just like there.
Yep.
And to your point, I would make the argument kind of to what I just said, that he might have some of that confidence, but I feel like he's a little bit lacking in talent, and he sure as fuck is lacking in charisma. Which sucks because the rest of that stable, whether you include The Rock or not, had way more charisma than Solo, I feel like we'll ever have. You had Jay, you had Jimmy, you had Roman, all of them kind of dripping charisma, dripping mic skills. You brought in Sammy, he made it funnier, and same thing, he's able to talk on the mic. Fair enough, but still... But still, he will hold a microphone at least, where it's like, yes. I don't think Solo can.
No. I don't. I think that The reason why the pop was so big for Paul Heyman is because everybody thinks Solo sucks, because him rejecting Solo was what everybody wanted. They wanted, like, it's just, that's the problem. It's not because they were excited because, Solo's a heel. It's because they think Solo sucks. Like,
where's the lie there?
It's just, he's a placeholder for this that just doesn't have it. He just doesn't. And you're not going to convince me otherwise, unless he has
I'm not going to try to convince you of shit here, anyways. So don't worry.
Unless he has like a big run, like where all of a sudden he's just killing it, maybe then. But I just don't see it happening. Like, I just don't. Like, I don't see the appeal. I just don't.
Nope. I actually agree. So I think that's where we'll stop it with that conversation. Obviously, SmackDown is coming up tomorrow since we're recording on a Thursday, so we'll have to see maybe any implications from Money in the Bank as it pertains to SmackDown. But we also...
I really thought they were going to do on Monday maybe not a rematch, but involve the participants from because I thought the Backlash would hit them enough where they might do like a rematch of the men's winners with the men's match, but except without Drew McIntyre, so it would be a 5-way instead of the 6-way, which I thought would have been kind of a make good.
Yeah.
For the hard feelings, I think that everybody because nobody liked it. Nobody liked it at all. Everybody thought it sucked
because everybody knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, and
the thing that pissed me off, sorry to cut you off, but the thing that royally pissed me off is that during the men's World Heavyweight Championship match, they kept looking out, and we didn't say anything about this, but they kept looking out for fucking Drew McIntyre,
right?
And it's just like you almost feel like it was bait, right? Like, not for them to do that to bait him to come out, but just bait for the fans. Like, oh, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it?
Yeah.
And then, I am sorry. I'm a little mad that we didn't mention it when we talked about the match itself. But I'm sorry. That botch count was such bullshit.
Oh, I hated it.
I absolutely despise that.
Oh,
I remember messaging you and saying Nick Patrick could have counted to 3 better.
I know. It's sure he could have.
He could have.
Like, I was just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. There was nothing. And listen, like, I get it. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't understand. But if you're going to do that, have it be cut off by his entrance music. So then the ref has plausible deniability that, oh shit, I got scared because I heard Drew's music. But they didn't even do that. They didn't even try to cover it up.
No,
and I get it. That's a hard spot. It truthfully is. It's a hard spot to get right. Because maybe that's what the ref was doing. Maybe he's waiting for the music to hit. And then again, there's that deniability. Maybe something just went wrong and the timing got off, whether it be by the wrestlers themselves, whether it be the backstage, whether it be the ref, I have no fucking clue. But it just looked like fucking shit.
Yeah, it did.
So, anyways. Why don't we move on to Heatwave? We probably don't need to spend as much time there anyways, but I have to tell you something before we actually get started.
Okay.
So, typically what I do, I go on and I look at particularly Wikipedia, just to kind of get a sense of the matches, see if there's any talking points like length and
right.
Obviously, there was the stipulation for the Obafemi versus Wesley match. So that's typically how I do it. But the kicker is because it's Wikipedia. Sometimes people can go in and make edits.
Yes.
So, do you know who, according to Wikipedia, is the new NXT champion?
Who?
R. Kelly.
Oh my God. Wow.
Do you know who the new NXT North American champion is?
Who?
It's definitely not that bad. Saladin. Yes, Saladin, the Arabian or Middle Eastern general or whatever Saladin.
I can't with these fucking clowns.
I don't even know the other
What
two
a clown
here.
show.
So hold on. So I don't even know these two, and they're in red, ironically enough. But apparently, Mika Tan beat Sol Ruka, and Jada Fire beat Lola Vice.
What an absolute clown show.
Yep. So I didn't have to look at the slide to remember what the matches were, but I just thought that was an incredibly noteworthy little item there that, apparently R. Kelly is your NXT
Wow.
champion. Oh, man. Yeah. So let's talk about the pre-show real quick. As I mentioned last week, there is a pre-show match. I did not catch this. I didn't actually catch most of the PLE this time. I was really tapped out from the night before with Money in the Bank.
Yeah, it's hard to get excited after the night before. You're like, fuck this.
Yeah, exactly. So the pre-show was a women's tag match. Carmen Pedrovic and Ariana Grace defeat JC Jane and Jasmine Nix. Apparently it was only not even an 8-minute match, which I guess for a pre-show makes a little sense, but I don't know. I feel like they're not doing much with a lot of these girls, especially JC Jane. It seems like the fall there is just never ending.
Well, you look at look at Gigi Dolan too.
She was hurt though, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think she was, but I think they've been kind of directionless since Mandy Rose got the axe.
Yeah.
Which we've argued that they could have, gotten that back together real quick. Especially now, they're in a corporate environment they're a corporate environment, but it's still not really, it's not as corporate as it used to be. They're getting away with, especially you're going to Netflix, fucking bring her back. Jesus Christ. Yeah. She can have her OnlyFans and she can advertise it on air. No one's going to give a shit.
I don't know about that.
You can watch Twitch now, okay? And there's this thing called Twitch, and you can watch these girls on there, and you can purchase things that, never mind. But what I'm saying is that it's just the lay of the land, folks. Cornbread, exactly.
You can buy cornbread, yep. Shit.
I don't know. You bring her back. Because if anything, it's hurt the careers of Gigi and JC Jane, this whole thing. And, of course, it hurts, I think, Mandy Rose's kind of legacy because, I was calling her probably one of the best NXT champions in in their history because she was a damn fine champion.
I think she still is, though. I mean, she still has that record anyway, so.
I still believe it. Look, I'm a Mandy Rose mark. I'll be the first one to admit it. When she switched over with that and got so much better, and had so much confidence in herself and earned the right, in my opinion, to be in that spot that she was in. It wasn't just because she had charisma. She was better in the ring. She's not at the level of Bayley. She's not at the level of Charlotte. But you know what? She had enough. And because of that...
is, though, Dan? You know what it is? I can equate this very easily. She is the first woman to go back, and I say women for a reason, because there's others that have gone back, like recently Mi Chen. And she's the first really superstar to go back to NXT and not look at it as a demotion.
No.
And I feel like she got paved the way. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think she has paved the way for others. And we talked about Corbin last week, right? Where he went back, and at first, but then the Wolf Dogs happened. And now he's going to be in that whole thing, and they might get called back up again, too, with Apollo Creed. And listen, if they can go back and reinvent themselves, that's exactly what the look should be. Whether Mandy was called back up again at any point, we'll never know. And it doesn't matter, because she went back, she reinvented herself, she did not view it as a demotion, she took it, she ran with it, and she was super successful doing it. And others have come after her and done the exact same thing. She's the first one, in my opinion, to really do that and do it very well and very successfully.
I agree. Without question. And but with JC Jane and Gigi Dolan, it's like I feel like Gigi, especially, there's something there as far as you can do something with her to kind of to get her on. Either you can keep her out of the ring and make her like a personality or something, but I feel like with Gigi that she does have a star look to her. If you catch my drift, I think you do.
That's a bad word.
But it's just she's not somebody that I would want to give up on, or have her go to another company and become a bigger star and have them do what you should be doing for her now. Even though if she went to another company, I think that would rather be difficult too because her ex-husband works there.
That's true. That's true. Listen, I'll say this for both of them. What they should have done is immediately separated the Mandy Rose character from them, called them up, and act like it never happened. And then that way they could still be Toxic Attraction on the main roster. And it could have worked. It could have. They've done it in the past. Look at DIY. There's unless you know NXT well enough, you have no knowledge whatsoever that them and Austin Theory used to be in the way. So it could have worked. For whatever reason, they decided not to do that and instead decided to have JC and Gigi feud. Which, okay, but I think especially at that time, calling them both up at the same time and getting them away from Mandy as the character, as the leader of Toxic Attraction, would have been fine.
Yes.
And I feel like they were ready at that time too. So, I don't know. I don't think they're doing right. And like I said, Gigi's been off TV for a while anyways. I think she's been injured. JC, it's just, maybe it's more noticeable the fall because she's been on TV still, but they gotta do something. You gotta do something with them. But,
I agree.
That brings us to the actual show. So, on the left, I think I got it pretty much the right order, maybe. Saladin Obafemi versus Wesley. So Obafemi retains, so Wesley can no longer challenge the NXT North American champion as long as it is Obafemi.
Obafemi is a fucking scary dude.
Yeah, he is, man.
Some of the things he did to Wesley, I was like, I don't know a human being can fly like that.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for this guy to get called up to the main roster and just start destroying people. They have some young guys that are him and Braun Breaker, you can put in the category of just complete freaks of nature that are just going to destroy people.
Well, I hope that they do it right. Because when they brought up, like, Veer Mahan, for example, they exactly did that. They had him just come out destroying people. And then after destroying people for a couple of weeks, he was off TV. And then months later, he was back on NXT in a tag team.
That was a Vince thing.
I know, but I'm just saying. That's why I hope they do it right.
No, I agree.
But
I agree 100%.
I'm kind of glad they did it this way because I do like Wesley. I think he's super talented, but it's like, get him out of that scene.
Get
him out and get Oba some actual real matches with other people. He needs to be exposed to more people and having him.
I think they have a plan for Wesley from what I saw on Tuesday.
Yeah, no, I think they do too. But again, like, that's why I'm saying I think they need both out of that scene, not just one or the other. But Wesley is definitely talented. You could have him challenge for something else. Obafemi can hold that title for a bit longer and destroy more people, and then you can have him do something else too. But I apparently did not have the order correct. The next match was Kalani Jordan defeating Sol Ruka to retain the NXT Women's North American Championship. I've seen this match get a lot of shit online.
Yeah,
by none other than Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer, ironically enough.
Well, of course. I mean, they did give fucking Toni Storm and her opponent from Forbidden Door 4 stars, though.
yeah.
I have to. I bring up. I guess I'll talk about that later, but we'll continue with NXT for now. Yeah, I've heard from a lot of people that this was not a good match. Like it was not like
they felt it was too choreographed, is what they said.
He said what?
Apparently,
does he know what company? Does he knows what company that's paying his fucking bills?
Yeah, not.
And he's
WWE,
going to say shit like that.
Not WWE. Apparently,
yeah, exactly.
Apparently, it was Alvarez who said it, and Meltzer just more or less agreed. I don't know. I didn't watch this. On paper, it sounds like a very, I guess, acrobatic match, which again is not up their alley. I think everybody kind of knows what is up. Brian Alvarez, Dave Meltzer, excuse me. What's up their alleys? This isn't it. To see a acrobatic / high flying women's match that
it's Yoshi matches from fucking Japan.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to say it. Ironically enough, I get it. It's not for everybody, but I also feel that we've talked about this in passing for other reasons, other matches. You should be looking for something different. You don't want the same cookie cutter thing for every single match. And you could make the argument that some of this is.
That's what made AEW great in the very first beginning, because every match was different.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was also something that separated WCW at one point, because they had the great they had the great cruiserweights, they had everything else to go along with the main event scene, which they featured older guys, but at the same time they had tremendous star power and attraction to the show.
Yes.
WWE doesn't to an extent. The problem is that a lot of WWE matches are very formulaic. Yep. Very kind of cookie cutter. Yeah. Except now things are beginning to change a little bit. But at the same time, you're still going to have these matches where you're just like, that seems like the match I saw last week with 2 other people.
Yeah. And I think that's why they wanted this match to be a little bit different, be something different. But, it's not going to click with everybody.
Not everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah. And I do want to go back and watch this one again. Because, like I said, I really didn't get much of it, but I want to see it for what it is, without the opinion of Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer.
No, of course.
But we can move on from that. So, in the middle of those 2 matches, it was the next match, ironically. Because, again, I didn't get the order correct when I did it.
Fine.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. Just saying. The NXT Tag Team Championship, Nathan Frazier and Axiom defeating Chase U, Andre Chase, and Duke Hudson, who were accompanied by Riley Osborne, it looks like, and Thea Hale.
We kind of figured that this was going to happen.
Yeah. You're going to have bruisers take those titles off of Frazier and Axiom. And that's just not Chase U. No. And they're fun to watch. They really are. But it stunk of, this is exactly what the match is going to be.
Yep.
I'm just going to move on. Honestly, I don't think there's anything else we could really say there.
Nope.
Yeah. So the next match for the NXT Women's Championship, Roxanne Perez and Lola Vice. If we're talking about a weekend full of improper booking decisions, this was another one.
Mm-hmm.
Roxanne Perez retains against Lola Vice.
I did like the story and the psychology of it.
Yeah.
With Roxanne focusing on the hands, so that way the spinning back fist is going to be kind of taken out of the matchup, which it was.
Yeah.
So that was a good strategy. That was a really good kind of story to tell in the match, and it also showed Roxanne's ability to kind of be a thinking high ring IQ kind of thinking person of being the top women's champion on that brand. I didn't like it because I think Lola Vice is a star. I think she has star potential, especially with her MMA background, but also at the same time,
Those mic
again,
skills are awful.
that needs work.
Oh, yeah.
But that comes with time.
It does.
And you look at, she's a better worker than Jade Cargill, but Jade Cargill in the ring, Jade Cargill has great personality, great promo skills. So I think that but you have to look. There's always going to be strengths and weaknesses, and it took Bailey a few years to get going. So I think with Lola, it might take a little time, but I think she'll get there.
I think with Bailey, I think it was her initial gimmick, really, just.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, she had to turn heel. And that heel turn could have went shit. I mean, that could have went shit real quick.
Yeah.
But it didn't. It prolonged. It was able to give her more of a career. And now people like myself realize that she's an all-time great.
Yep.
And she's being celebrated as one. And she's going to have one hell of a career to look back on when her career is finally over. And I'm glad she's finally getting kind of her due on top of just, instead of just people thinking she was like a transitional champion at certain points. But of course there was that heel run that she had during the COVID era. But at the same time, she deserves this kind of babyface run where it's not the nicey nice. It's, I'm still kind of the same person I was a heel, but it's just now more of a, I am a role model instead of I shouldn't be a role model. But the thing with Lola Vice is that maybe they saw the promo work and they said, we're not ready to do the switch. Because Roxanne's ready to go to the main roster. I don't think she needs really, again, her holding the championship for as long as she has and her holding it for as long as, I mean, could Cora Jade take it from her? I don't know at this point. I don't know if Cora Jade's going to be ready in the next few months. I don't know if
Cora Jade is going to be healthy or be able to sustain being healthy.
Exactly, because it's just she's always hurt. Yeah, I mean,
listen, if she can stay healthy, I'm okay with.
Sky's the limit.
Exactly, but if not, then.
Yeah, I mean. Roxanne also could be holding the title for the new signees. That could be a distinct possibility.
Oh, man. Yeah. Listen, I think you might be 100% right. And the reason I'm going to say that is because I think that those two, when we talked about it earlier, Gliana and Stephanie, are NXT bound.
Correct.
However, leaving the third to next year, being the juggernaut, Jordynne Grace, I think is immediately on the main roster.
Oh, yeah. No, I think Jordynne Grace does not need NXT.
No, absolutely
I think the other two need NXT to kind of get familiar with the American audience.
Yes.
But also to kind of that style, because it's different. They're leaving Shimmer, they're leaving New Japan to going to a company that, look at, we're not as stiff. You don't have to lay it in. And we're not going to be hitting you as hard as we can either. So they're going to need to kind of that seasoning a little bit to the American audience and to the WWE style. Jordynne Grace, though, she's fucking ready. Like, they're going to call her up immediately to the main roster. They're going to put her in the Rumble. How shocking would it be if she wins it? And I wouldn't hate it. Yeah. I'd be like, fuck, yeah, put her. We already know that you guys got faith in her. Yeah.
Smoke.
Exactly. Let it cook.
Yeah, man.
Let that cook.
It's smoke. And that's why I played it, because 100% she needs to be on the main roster day one. And
no, without question.
If her contract with TNA, as we said earlier, is up in January of next year, put her in the Rumble immediately.
If Rhea Ripley is world champion, by then, if she gets the title back, Jordan Gray should win the Rumble and challenge Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Just do it right away.
Any I almost want to say beater, but any woman bruiser, yes. And I think 100% it should be Rhea. If it's not Rhea, then it could be Bianca Belair. God forbid if Jade Cargill is able to clean up her skills, it could be Jade Cargill.
Nia Jax.
Even Tiffany Stratton is on that more athletic build side. I wouldn't hate any of that. I think Rhea is a very natural choice, though. I agree with that.
I just
Go ahead.
I just think that this is their Roxanne at this point is just holding the title until one of those girls debuts and challenge her and take the title off her. That way that she can move on to the main roster because everybody, there really isn't anybody in the NXT's women's division that I think is ready
More than
really to be the girl. And I think that's part of it because Lola Vice has everything going for her in several different aspects, except the fact that she needs more mic time. She needs to get more confidence in the microphone.
Yep.
That is the one thing that's going to hold her back.
100%.
But I think she'll be able to figure that out.
I think so. The one thing I would add to your point of view with Roxy is I think if you're going to bring those two in, and depending on when they come in, Roxanne should stay for another 6 to 12 months. Make sure she can get them rounded out and over, and then she can better drop the belt to one of those two.
That's fair.
And that's not a detriment to Roxanne. Roxanne's still very young, still has a lot of time. If she is able to stay healthy, which so far she pretty much has, then I think she is absolutely coming to the main roster probably around the Rumble time, again, depending on when those two start, right?
Right.
And again, putting them in that spotlight of NXT, having them shine, and probably having them work together too, I think is going to be something special. Whereas Jordan Grace, again, we're speculating, but I feel like it's just a foregone conclusion that in January she is on one of the two main event rosters, whether that be Raw or SmackDown. We don't know, but we can, like I said, we can definitely speculate that more than likely she is WWE bound. Put her in the Rumble. Put her in the Rumble. If you're not going to have her win, she should be in the last two. And
I agree.
Just do it. Just fucking book it.
I agree.
So that brings us to the last match then, which apparently R. Kelly won. But it was Trick Williams, Javon Evans, Sean Spears, and your new NXT champion, All Ego, Ethan Page.
Great finish. Great idea. And also proving...
But why? You should put the belt on him already?
Who gives a shit? You know why? Because they saw this in him fucking years ago.
Yep.
They're only fulfilling the prophecy now because he went and... Can I say I blame him for going
Absolutely
to AEW?
not.
No, because he
No
probably
way.
got paid more. He just...
I don't blame any of them for jumping ship. I don't blame Adam Cole. I don't blame him. I don't
Considering
blame
who was
Ethan
in
Page.
charge at the time, yes.
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
No, I don't either.
I think, though, I look at Adam Cole, I think he has buyer's remorse. I think of...
Yeah.
I think that Keith Lee, same thing. I think everybody that
Keith
was
Bree.
Triple H... Yeah. Keith fucking waste of money.
Ooh,
Everybody that signed with AEW that was considered a Triple H guy, Malachi Black, same thing. Those guys are sitting there right now pissed off because they're wasting away in a company that is not organized, that is all about flashiness about the current. Oh, we got to get this guy over. Oh, we got to get this guy over. Way too top heavy. And then they got to put over guys that are on their way out or are rapidly going downhill. And
bring back Danhausen.
Exactly. Or get rid of him so that way he can sign with WWE and go to NXT and just harass Shawn Michaels every day.
Oh my God.
Like,
you know what I just realized?
What?
Dan? They need to pair him up with R-Truth.
They need to pair him up with R-Truth, and then we also need to get the prophecy fulfilled of Pepsi Housing.
Yes.
We need to get that.
Yes.
We need to get Pepsi Housing. We also need to get just Danhausen. Like, just give me backstage segments where all Danhausen is doing. Like, I could just see him, like, in the like they're building up Danhausen, like he's trying to get a contract, and one day he just shows up with balloons for Shawn Michaels.
No,
he's just like,
you know what they should do is put him in the Judgment Day.
Yeah. Yes. No, yes.
Put him in the Judgment Day. Him and Carlito would be hilarious.
It really would. But also,
it looks hard to me. It looks very nice. It looks very evil. Oh, shit.
You put your eye out with that thing. Oh, don't do that. The greatest, the single greatest, funniest goddamn thing you could think of. And also, Ethan Page is friends with Danhausen. Also, who's friends with Danhausen? CM Punk.
Yep.
So there's several people now in WWE that are in the Danhausen camp. So, and Danhausen also might want to be able to cash in because of the fact that he would get more reach at merchandise for WWE and that machine behind them. There is something they could do with Danhausen. Now they can, without question, in my opinion.
Very nice, very evil merch would sell out at WWE.
Without question. Danhausen going to WWE now, I think, is a distinct possibility. And also now, I think, especially with the character development they have done in NXT, I think Shawn Michaels working and being a thorn in the side of just random stuff happening to Shawn, like every week of just like, what are you doing?
You know what? It's not even that, honestly. It's not just NXT. It's both, all three rosters, I would say, actually. Because we talked about Chelsea Green earlier, right? Chelsea has put in the time, put in the effort to make that character her own. And if anybody in the main roster is willing, production-wise, to give him 5 minutes of mic time a week, he could absolutely effing run with it. It's all they need. And like you said, his merch is going to sell. Print me money!
Off the shelves.
Print me money.
Like, literally, print me money. I could just see, why am I bringing him in? What? Why are you, what? No, I don't want cookies. No, what? Why,
what is that jar of teeth doing here?
What are you doing with the teeth? It's just every week of just them getting annoyed of this guy trying to get a job with the company, or just or have him being on Peacock hosting. Oh, you're watching Bride of Frankenstein with Danhausen. Just random shit that they're going to be able to do when he comes over. Because I have a feeling he will. I have a feeling now a lot of the underutilized guys in AEW are now going to come over. Because guess what? This past week has proven that if they have faith in you and when you went to AEW, we're going to put you in a top position. Because now, who joined the ranks all of a sudden of almost said Hangman for some dumb reason. All ego Ethan Page now joins the ranks of Cody Rhodes and Jade Cargill as champions after coming over from AEW.
And hey, Sean Spears was in the main event too. And that is now
also coming
two pay-per-views.
from AEW.
Yeah, exactly. And that's now 2 pay-per-views or PLEs for NXT that All Ego Ethan Page has main evented. He lost the first one, and now he is NXT champion in the second one.
And Trick Williams did not get pinned, and Trick Williams also has a definite case because he hit the trick shot, I believe, on All Ego, and then he just fell on the other guy to win the title. I forgot who he pinned. I don't think it was Sean Spears. That was the fourth contender.
Javon Evans, I think, yeah.
Yeah, right. It was Evans. And he just fell on him and won the title.
Yep.
So automatically now it's able to build a case for Trick to get his title, to get his rematch. And then, of course, it kind of sets up a quasi-rubber match. Because, yes, All Ego won the match, but exactly, he didn't pin the champion.
Yep.
So there's now that case to be built. And it doesn't really hurt Trick either, losing a match, a fatal 4-way match, when you were not involved in the pinfall. So.
Yep. Exactly. But yeah, R. Kelly, I mean, All Ego Ethan Page is your champion. Again, the R. Kelly joke coming from Wikipedia because somebody apparently went into
Goddamn Wikipedia.
I'm going to actually refresh as we're talking because I want to see if anybody changed it back yet. Just to kind of see. But no, we still have Saladin and R. Kelly as champions apparently. So yeah, that was Heatwave. Not a great bad pay-per-view, excuse me. I think it was what a lot of people probably expected in some cases. I think, Roxy retaining, it's a little weird, but, kind of like you said, maybe they're saving her for the new hires, so to speak. And, yeah, I think All Ego Ethan Page, you could do a lot worse for your NXT World Champion, and I think he, being in the position he is in, as you said, as a former AEW talent, is pretty impactful to see that. Now you have 2 former AEW talents being your effective brand champions. So. Whoa!
Who ran?
So I know we're about at the close of the show, but you mentioned you had something you want to talk about Meltzer and Alvarez.
I wanted to talk about last night's closing to AEW Dynamite.
Okay.
Between Mariah May and Toni Storm. Mariah May won the female version of the Owen Hart Cup, defeating Willow Nightingale, who failed in bidding for her second one back-to-back. Toni was out there to celebrate with Mariah May as Mariah May ran up the ramp to grab the championship. Toni Storm is expecting the big pose at the end. Instead, nope, fuck that. Mariah May domed her with the championship belt that represented the Owen Hart tournament winner.
Then hit her with the strap a few times.
Hit her with the strap a few times. Kicked Luther's ass for a little bit, putting him through a table.
Anyways.
Yeah, Luther's fucking useless.
He is useless.
And Toni Storm was left bloody. Bad.
Yep.
And I believe in the concept of that blood turns green. This is a situation where, and I was for it, and then the drinking of the blood again, where you did that on a pay-per-view, which was already divisive anyways. Like, it was divisive. There was a good portion of people that were like, ugh. And it kind of hurt the perception for AEW again with the Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page match that happened earlier this year on pay-per-view.
Yep.
And the difference now that why they did this, and they did it on live television, it's already an angle that and a spot that people find divisive. And you did it with 2 women.
I don't know. I think it's just tasteless.
You're in a time now where people that shit just doesn't fly. It just doesn't. We just came out of a pandemic.
Yeah.
People already leery of blood transmission, stuff like that, going back to the 1980s for reasons. And I don't think people.
Cornbread, damn it, cornbread.
Yeah, it's something that makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And especially, you do it with Swerve and Hangman, that's one thing, but you do it between two women, that's when people are like, Jesus, I'm not watching this for fucking goddamn watching True Blood here. I'm not watching a vampire show. This is pro wrestling.
Well, I'll say this, I remember when this happened to a couple months ago on the lead up to WrestleMania, where the Rock busted Cody open and he wipes his hand on Cody's blood and then wipes it on the belt. I know people were even turned off by that in some cases. And I get it, like you're saying, the bloodborne diseases and stuff like that, the pandemics, the epidemics, if you will, as well. Talking about what you said with cornbread, 1980s.
Cornbread, damn it, cornbread.
I get it. And I know that turned a lot of people off too. But this is just taking it one extreme further, that it goes from off-putting to just objectively disgusting.
It's poor judgment on their part too, because of the fact that they are still without a home for TV after October.
Yeah.
And all it takes is one group, one parent group or something to watch that and immediately go complain about it. Because look, we're in an era now where with social media and with 24/7 news coverage, they've skated a few times on things. I don't know. All it takes is one person to watch that. It get disgusted by it, and then it becomes a talking point somewhere. And then that hurts you in your contract negotiations. Even though today, I was tipped off that a announcement for their TV rights deal is incoming. Don't know when, but it is.
God. Yeah.
It is that I was tipped off today. I don't know any specifics, but apparently it's coming. And I don't know how much it's for. They're still it's technically July now, which I believe the exclusive rights either have ended or end next month, or at the end of this month with Time Warner. Well, or Warner Brothers Discovery, excuse me. And also with True TV now becoming they're changing formats for True TV, and they're probably, I've heard it is now going to become the Warner Brothers Discovery Sports Network, or something of that nature, where they're going to, well, for one thing, I don't know if they're going to be able to retain the NBA rights. So I don't know if they're going to be what they're going to be able to do with that.
Yeah, I don't
know. They also got out of the regional sports network a while ago as well, in the last year, I believe, too, because that was unsustainable. Which really, that I think is going to be the new way, where these networks are just going to start bidding over teams being on this network, where it's going to get to a point where I think a lot of these sports networks are going to start kind of like an open market, where it's just, they're going to start playing games regardless. They're going to carry it somewhere because sports programming always gets good ads rights, because people watch it live usually, so they don't skip over commercials. It's not like you can watch something on demand or you're watching it streaming. Like if you're watching The Bear, for example, which apparently, holy shit, is that fucking thing getting numbers from what I understand.
Yeah, I've heard the same.
I've heard 100 million
Yeah.
And and that's unheard of now, day and age now, for a television show. That's insane. And it's also a show on FX. So Disney's just sitting there. They're like, well, boo-hoo. That's a win. Because Lord fuck, we need one. Even though Inside Out 2 is another one for them lately.
Yep.
But then but the whole AEW thing last night, it was a massive turnoff. But I liked the angle.
I like the angle, but
because
the thing is this though, Dan, and I hate to cut you off, but the thing is for me, and you echoed this earlier already, when you're in negotiations for your media rights, maybe now is not the best time to pull a stunt like that.
No, I don't think it is. And he's done that several times. The CM Punk footage one was not something I would have done at all. And that was a cheap little ratings ploy. It did get you in the 8s, but you haven't been back since. This Dynamite last night.
Because all you did was prove CM Punk right.
That's all you did. And now, too, every time the Young Bucks come out, they get a CM Punk chant.
Good. They deserve that
Wrong reaction.
Yep.
That's not what you want. You don't want your top tag team, one of your top talents, the highest paid tag team in professional wrestling history, the Young Bucks. Every time they come out now, they chant CM Punk.
Shut up, bitches.
The lone gold in a pile of shit.
Yeah.
Okada.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly.
And I like the Young Bucks.
I don't hate them, but they're just bitches.
Jack Perry's they're bitches. They've proven that. And Jack Perry's a bitch.
Oh,
and
100%.
He's never going to be over. He's never going to be a star in this industry. He can't cut a fucking promo. He's not believable. He's okay in the ring. But they're still thinking that we can get him over. No, you can't. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. He's got go-away heat. He can't turn him babyface now because there's a good portion of the AEW fan base that still blames him for a lot of the problems they've been dealing with now.
And they fucking should.
And they should. They should be blaming the Bucks. They should be blaming the Bucks. They should be blaming Jack Perry.
Yeah, 100%.
All three of those guys have had a hand in what they've been dealing with now.
Yep. 100% agree.
Any team, or any supposed high-ranking talent should not be doing victory laps in a half-empty building the night that you had to fire the biggest star in your company's history.
Yeah. That was just stupid. It really was. And the fact that you still have these fucking clowns in Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer still giving them their dues and their credits after bullshit storms like that drives me fucking wild.
It does. It drives me crazy because it's like I've had more people that hated CM Punk turn back to CM Punk fans. Not just because of the fact, there's a little bit of bias because, of course, everybody was like, well, I'm happy he's in WWE again. But also because of the fact that they finally realized and saw that CM Punk was not the fucking problem.
That was the thing. Listen, I was a huge Punk detractor after that shit went down. Even though I wasn't a big AEW mark or fan, I did not like the way all that shit went down. However, that was before any of us knew the full facts of what went down, right? I thought the Bucks were stupid in their fight with him backstage. I thought CM Punk, however, did antagonize that to happen a little bit. And I thought that Kenny getting bit by the dog was fucking hilarious to that story, by the way. Because holy shit.
Kenny, though, I feel like is an innocent victim.
Oh,
of all of this
100%.
as well,
but the fact that happened was just funny.
Oh, well, like because Kenny, he was in there to try to find to get the dog out of there. Like that was.
I think Kenny was in there to try to stop it.
Yeah, I think he was too, because I think, and Kenny, I also think has the business sense to know we need to keep him happy, guys.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, we need to keep him happy. And I've noticed with CM Punk, I've noticed with Kenny Omega in his tweets, I've noticed with Kenny Omega in his live streams, he is not happy in AEW. He is not happy in AEW. He's just not. If he could make the switch, I think he'd do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, at this point.
And
I would not be surprised if Cody is on that train all the way with him to get him over there at some point, too. I just would not be surprised.
The problem is, too, is that if they're still in business, Tony's going to hold him to his contract, and he's going to freeze his time.
Yeah.
So with all his injury time, because if he's out for a year plus,
adds to the contract,
he's still going to make that up.
Yep.
And it's just like, it's just because, and that's going to put him in an age where maybe him going to WWE isn't going to happen. It's a reality. I don't know.
Yeah.
He could also go to Tony and say, look, just let me go. You don't have to pay me anymore. We can work something out. Do a buyout or something. And I keep having to remind people of how dumb Tony Khan is. He fired CM Punk with cause, with no compete.
But Dan, he felt threatened. He felt his life was in danger.
Yeah, well, releasing the tape.
Oh yeah, I know. That
ruined that narrative.
Oh, I 100% agree. I 100% agree.
Destroyed that narrative.
Listen, I want to touch on this in a little bit more sequential order real quick, because we talked about the Bucks backstage incident. He comes out and he says weeks, months later, whatever, that Heyman goes into business for himself. This whole shit with Jungle Jim, Jack Perry. And there's other stuff in there too that gets said, not said, etc. But I want to call attention to the tape aspect, the All-In incident where he gets released with cause, because there's so many different stories that came out around that time about this. And again, people blamed him for it. But what never gets really talked about is Jack Perry going into business for himself after effectively being told by CM Punk and others to. CM Punk really was the last guy to talk about it. And others, like Tony Schiavone, have come out and said, yeah, I asked Punk to go talk to him because he wanted to use real glass. CM Punk does that. Then, as that match is going on, CM Punk is backstage watching it with a lot of other fucking people. And then Jack Perry makes reference to that conversation during the match. Effectively doing exactly what other people have done, going into business for himself to call attention to a backstage argument or something he didn't like or anything you want to call it, to then CM Punk being backstage, kind of calling him out about it, which we can only speculate. There was no audio to that tape. But let's be real, it was probably about that event, and then shoves him and chokes him out. I don't see how he's wrong in that instance.
No, I don't.
I just don't. And the fact that the only real, shoving is CM Punk tried to move around monitors and shit because they were about to fall on him, and maybe getting tussled around as people were trying to hold him back, is lunging at Tony Khan. I don't see it. I don't see it
either. I don't see the lunging aspect of it, and the fact is that Jack Perry knew if he pushed him, he's going to get him fired. He knew that fully. He knew that Punk was probably on double secret probation and knew that if he pushed him, that he can get rid of him. Tony was told by Punk Collision wasn't going to work. Pay me my money, let me go. But Tony wanted to make it work. Tony, all he had to do was meet with all those guys in a room and say, we need to fucking settle this. We need to settle this now. And if the Young Bucks did not want to work with CM Punk, you fire the Young Bucks immediately. You just say, I can't do business with you guys at all because you're leaving money on the fucking table. But he didn't have the balls to do it. And sometimes you got to put your big boy pants on and make decisions. He did not do anything. He let everything fester, which is what has led to the company the way and the position that it is now.
He gave them way too much power.
You know who else he gave too much power to? Mercedes Moné. And she's going to drive that fucking company even further downhill to where it is now.
Creative
Mark
control,
my words,
brother.
You never, in this day and age, give creative control to people that haven't earned it. Mercedes Moné has not earned dick. You know, it's like when Tony Soprano said to fucking Carmella when she's like, I want what I'm entitled to. You're entitled to shit. She's ready to order.
Yeet.
Yeah, listen, you're not wrong. I think it's an important aspect of the fact that, you know, when Hogan got creative control in WCW, he had been in the game for, well, I think over 20 years at that point, really.
10 years track record. When he went there in 94, he won the title in 84. He had a 10-year track record.
Well, that was just with WWE. I'm saying
well, no, yeah, you're right, because you could say the last 12 years if you go back to what he did in the AWA.
Yeah.
So you give 12 or 13 years, you could look at them and say, well, why am I paying this guy guaranteed money? And then you just say, because, and just show him all the records.
It's funny because even going into the 90s when he signed with WCW, he was still a fucking draw. He was always gonna be a draw. We always talk about this. Anytime we talk about AEW, is what's the draw, right? You know, you have Okada. There's been no real, or shouldn't say draw, but bottom line, right? There's been no changing of the bottom line. Whether it's been Okada, whether it's been Will Ospreay, whether it's been Mercedes Moné, whether it was bringing people in for Forbidden Door, it never affects the bottom line.
Never.
And that's the problem. And it's just until he sees that, or he's able to present them in a way that might change that bottom line, he's never going to be a strong number two, I'll say it that way, to WWE. Because everybody is a distant number two on the bottom of the Tribal Chief's shoe, said Sami Zayn. But still, it's the truth. Like, it's never affecting that bottom line. It's never going to be a strong competitor because he keeps falling into these traps. You know, he fell into the trap of WCW with the overbloated roster. He fell into the trap of spending way too much on a shitty video game that is now free on Game Pass. He spent way too much money on Okada, on Ospreay, on Mercedes Moné, to the fact of he's not going to get that money back.
No chance.
And, you know, we've talked about this in passing.
$104 million payroll.
Yeah, that was the next comment. We talked about this previously, talking about their media rights contracts, how they're coming up, and they're coming up fast. And right now, if they continue to pull stunts like they did on Wednesday, it's going to hurt them. It's not going to help them. And additionally, what does that contract look like? Because it's not going to be $5 to $10 billion like the Netflix deal with WWE. It's just not. And I don't think they're going to go to streaming because I don't think they're strong enough for that still. You can make the argument for whatever Ring of Honor had to revamp that and put it as its own platform, but then you need to spend more money that you're not going to make.
I would give them 2 years at $250 million, 125 per, and you incentivize it that if you hit certain goals, if you get over $1 million, we'll go up to 150 instead of 125.
I have to be honest with you, Dan.
Yeah.
I think, first of all, that's generous.
It is generous, but at the same time, 125 million for these networks is a drop in the fucking bucket.
And listen,
And
you're not
all
wrong.
it does is provide programming, and that's 5 hours of television every week that you don't have to worry about.
But hold on, that's the caveat. I don't think they should continue with 5 hours. Whether that means dropping Collision or dropping Dynamite, because let's be real, 1 hour on Friday is not helpful for them.
No.
I know there's other shit that gets involved, like Ring of Honor tapings, and other stuff, but it's not doing anything. I get it. Okay, yeah, you could switch from SmackDown to this, and now you have the alternative. And if you want to watch it, you just flip the channel. I get it. But realistically, who is doing that? Not many fucking people. You're also talking about Saturdays during the summer. Nobody cares.
No.
People are going to be watching baseball or having cookouts or going to the beach. Nobody cares. And then during the regular season for the other sports, there are potentially games. There's college football. Exactly. Yep.
College football season, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the most viewed sports on the planet. I mean, college football is not what it was 10 years ago, but, that's besides the
Still
point.
got people watching, though.
Exactly. They
And
got
then-
enough following.
And then you also got the NBA and the NHL. That takes away, because that's now in season.
Yep.
The NFL, when it gets towards the later part of the season where college football is done, they switch games to Saturdays. During the playoffs, you have Saturday
Still have
games.
UFC and WWE events
those
that you have
too,
to deal with
yeah.
on Saturday nights as well.
Yeah, I can't imagine paying them for 5 hours of television. I just can't.
You're pissing uphill on that one.
Yeah. Whether that's the Friday thing, because again, you're going to have Friday night NHL and NBA games too that you're going to have to compete with that run late into that, especially for the West Coast games. And if the game, like Bruins or the Celtics, if they start at 7, you're running right into that Dynamite time. So objectively, that's like the kiss of death at that point. You still have to deal with a little bit on Wednesday, but if Wednesday is your marquee show, keep that, but make a decision on Dynamite or Collision. Who stays, who goes, what day should it move to? Because that's the thing. I think it needs to move. I don't think you keep it where it is. And at that point, then you have to make the decision. Do you run it on Sundays as the AE version or AEW version, of Sunday Night Heat? You're not going to run up against Raw. You can maybe make an argument to run up against Raw, though, because with Raw being on SmackDown, maybe you have a market share there to fill. And that might be an idea to think of. You're not going to run up against NXT at this point, because you might have won the Wednesday Night Wars. You're probably going to start to lose the Tuesday Night Wars if NXT is able to keep up the momentum that they have gained recently.
Probably will.
And then you already have Wednesdays, and
they're going to CW too, so they're going to be
different marketing.
Yep.
And then you already have Wednesday, and then do you really want to do 2 days in a row? They have to figure it out. They have to.
It's tough because I think I see this company and it's just like, yeah, they got a lot of funding behind it, but they've never drawn a profit.
Yep.
I feel like the media rights deal, it's like, well, maybe we'll break even. Maybe it won't either. Like, it's just, I just don't see how this thing is sustainable. Like, I just don't. Like, because there's got to be a limit. There has to be a limit for the amount of money that you're putting into this thing. And as much as you can tell me all day and lie to us openly lie to people
Yeah.
and say that everything's fine, that our metrics are better. Yeah, revenue-wise, you probably made the most you did last year. But at the same time, it's like, what about this year? You're going to lose 60 instead of 40? I know your pay-per-views. It's like your pay-per-views do the same number every time. 100, 150,000 in between there fluctuates.
Like 150, 175, I think is about what it usually is, yeah.
They were at like 130 or something for fucking Forbidden Door. But usually
yeah.
So you make, what, $5 million, but you got to cut another $250,000 with the distributor. So you're maybe making 2.5, if that.
Yeah. Objectively, sounds about right.
It's just when is it going to be sustainable for you? When is it going to be? Because it's not your money.
Yeah, it's daddy's money.
It's not your money.
It's daddy's.
If my dad had funded me a wrestling company and it didn't make money after the first 2 years, I'd be closing up shop.
Yeah, probably. Listen, if it was my dad, it would be the same thing.
If I lost $40 million last year, I damn sure would not be seeing another day in 2024.
Yeah, that too.
No fucking way. But you know what? I'd accept it and I'd understand it. Because this industry, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to lose your ass. I could sit there and tell you, do I think in my mind I'm a great booker? Yes, of course I do. I'm self-centered and egotistical. Of course I think I'm the best. And I'm right more than I am wrong. So that's something. But also at the same time, I can be stubborn. And there have been a lot of times where I've seen companies cave to what the people were saying, and I was just like, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have.
Sometimes the people are right. I will grant that, right? And we've had this discussion when we talk about redacted McMahon. Sometimes they're right, but it's not every time.
People hate me when I tell them. People hate me when I tell them that Daniel Bryan winning the championship at 30 was not a big deal. Because it wasn't. It wasn't a big deal.
There's an argument for both, I think. I don't think that's as clear cut. I just don't. But the thing is with this issue of AEW, the way it books and everything, it's something I've said in the past, and I'll continue to say it. He doesn't book for the people. He books for one person alone, and that is himself.
Essentially, he's Vince.
I don't even think that. Vince was in it to make money. He's clearly not, because he's not turning a profit. Because he still books for himself.
But Vince would still book things to amuse himself.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
But yeah, he did do a lot of things for money. But
I think though with Vince, it's a little bit different because he thought other people would find it funny too. Yeah, well, what if it still is for himself? Don't get me wrong. You don't think so?
I think he would. The thing with Vince is that if he didn't like you, he didn't book you. If he just, and it could have been the littlest thing. It's just Christian's a guy that, and I
definitely did not like Christian. I know.
No, never put him in a spot that was anything decent. Always made him look stupid. It's just he finally wins the World Heavyweight Championship, and 2 days later he's dropping out to fucking Randy Orton. It's just
yeah. Yep. No, I know. I just Tony's a clown. That's why I will forever have his clown picture ready to go.
Look at, and I also consider myself a again with saying that I think I'm a genius booker. But I was talking to somebody a few weeks ago at the toy hunt when I went with Billy, and mutual friend
Ooh, red.
talking wrestling. And he's just like, honestly, if I took over the book, I couldn't fix him. And I said the exact same thing. I can't fix him. I can't.
I don't think that's true.
It would take so much time.
That'll give you.
So much time to get everybody out of the mud. And literally, I would have to put it. It would be a hard reset. It would literally, I had to build everything from the ground up. Like light everything on fire and just say nothing works. Fuck this. No. Cut half the talent because I'd immediately like the very first thing I do. I'm slashing your fucking budget in half. Like who's paying? How much does this guy get? What? Fuck you. Gone.
Yeah.
Buyout.
That's
buyout.
the thing. Yeah.
Buyout.
Yeah. I agree. I would be in the same boat. I'd be like, you're getting paid how much? When was the last time you were on TV? Okay, bye. You know, like, listen, I know I shit on him all the time with the Keith Bree comments, but, you know, either he's going to wrestle or he's not. If you don't like creative, you're not going to stay home and collect a paycheck. You can get fired. And I know he is one of them that has expressed his displeasure with creative in the past. I know there are others too. I'm going to objectively look at other guys that were WWE guys that know the methodology of those locker rooms, have them try to emulate that, and if the people that are there, like your Jack Perrys, that are not willing to adapt to that kind of style, I'm going to say peace out. And considering I find him to be a talentless hack, another reason why he's going to be get the fuck out. You know, and I'm sorry, but Anna Jay, you don't like it, you might have to go with him. Just saying. And there are other talents on that roster too that you just look at and you're like, why? Why are we here? And, you know, they have such a bloated roster. When was the last time you saw half of them?
Long time.
Exactly. Listen, you know, if somebody like, I'm going to call her Tay Guevara for reasons, but somebody like Tay Guevara who's out because she had a child, it's very similar to the Alexa Bliss situation. She's out, she's on maternity leave. I get it. I'm not going to hate on that situation. But if there are other talent that is ready to be there and they're not, and they're sitting at home due to creative differences, peace out. If you don't like what I have for you, sorry, not sorry. Get the fuck out. And that doesn't mean that you can't come back later if you're willing to accept what I have creatively, number one, and willing to work through it, number two, then, you know, stay away. If you are willing to come back and work through it, let's have a conversation. But he doesn't do that. He lets them sit at home and collect a paycheck instead. That's
He pays
stupid.
these people to sit home, and it's costing you money. It's costing you money that you should be worried about. Like, it just is, because eventually that faucet's going to get shut off.
Yeah.
No one likes losing this type of money. No one. Oh, it's a tax write-off. Fucking $40 million last year? No one likes to lose $40 million fucking dollars. I don't like to lose $40, let alone $40 billion. $40 million.
I mean, let's go back. The last time they were in Vegas a couple of years ago, it was even in the news. We had other people helping us sift through that news before we had this show. We were on a different show. We talked about it too. You buy a combo meal at a local restaurant, you get fucking AEW tickets.
Yes. I remember that.
Like, come on, dude. Like, even if your production or promotional teams are not able to get a word out, Why are you giving tickets away for a fucking burger, fries, and 12-ounce soda like a fucking clown shoe? I don't get that.
Gotta have the building full. At
Which
what
side?
cost?
Which side? Just not the campside, right?
Yes.
Come on.
Oh, there's people on this side. You know, I
man, so petty but so funny. I loved it. I know people online shit on him for it, but I thought that was hilarious.
There, even in the, that would be the first thing I would say to the locker room. I would say, look at, stop mentioning the company that is kicking our ass every time you get that. Those days are over. You can punch down, but I'm tired of us punching up. And they had every right in 2019, 2020, 2021 to punch down, because a lot of those guys were frustrated. A lot of those guys felt like that they were screwed over, that they were shafted. And a lot of them were. A lot of them never really got the opportunity that they probably should have under the previous regime. And WWE in between 2014 and 2019 was a vacuum of anything creative. Everything sucked.
Yep.
And it was the shits. It was terrible. And AEW came in and were using talents that were no longer underutilized, giving you an effort where you felt like the WWE, there was no effort as far as the creative was concerned. The talent has always been there, but it was the creative that was the big driving point. And right. AEW taking those shots, it made all the sense in the world because they were so frustrated. The second, though, that WWE started to gain their footing, and when Cody left, everybody, it should have been an edict. You all need to shut the fuck up and not bring them up again, because we need to focus on us instead of taking shots at them. They're in no longer a position where you can take shots at them, because now they have momentum. They can kill you. They can take you out.
Yeah.
And they're trying everything they can to make it harder for them. They've stolen talent. They have thrown more money at talent. They have put talent that have been underutilized or underappreciated into bigger spots. They offered Jade Cargill a lot of money, and Jade Cargill was just like, no, I'm done.
Yeah. I don't know. It's unfortunate that Tony, and to a lesser extent other talent within AEW, have put themselves in this situation. And regardless of whether it's punching up, punching down, the only real thing they're punching at this point is themselves, and it's punching out. And I think, at least for me, that's a good place to leave it for this show.
I agree.
You know, any other closing thoughts, or you just want to jump right into your shout outs?
No, I think I've said my piece, and that was supposed to be like a 10-minute thing, and it turned into like a fucking 30-minute fucking thing.
I know.
It was like, because I'm like, oh, fuck, we're going to get out of here at a decent hour. And then I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, nope.
Well,
usual
so
time.
much for that. Yep.
Yeah. But no, I feel like I said my piece enough about it. But, you know, be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram as well, under The Shoot, and also Diamond Podcasting Productions. We are currently in the midst of trying to produce some more programs for the channel. We definitely have some things in the works and the pipeline that we will be announcing at a certain point once we have things kind of figured out, scheduling wise and in the can.
Yep.
We will be able to advertise it, promote it, and of course let you know as we're trying to expand our portfolio a little bit and do things other than wrestling. Of course, there'll probably be wrestling references all over the place in some of these other programs, but I digress. So be sure to check us out on our social medias. And of course, you're on YouTube under Diamond Podcasting Productions. And, just the big one. Because I look at the shoot channel and there's nothing there. It's just kind of like the account that people could probably send stuff to. Probably our easiest way as far as like communication is concerned of just sending it directly to that address. The fact that also I am still working for Pro Wrestling World Talks. I do not know the episode we're going to be running this week, so I can't plug it. I think John and I will be recording at some point this weekend, and I'll probably be doing a rush job to get the episode out for Saturday or Sunday. So be sure to check that out. And also check out Wrestling Glory Days. I just wrote a article today talking about kind of referencing what has been going on with Stephanie Fauquois with her contract status with CMLL and New Japan, and talked about how Hulk Hogan left the AWA in 1993 under similar circumstances, but how I blame Vern Gagne in that situation, the owner and promoter of the AWA at that point. So that's about me on my plugs, I guess you could say, for this week.
Nope, I think that's about it. So I integrated our social medias as well. So you can find me at DrewMacDPP on Twitter X and on Instagram, or Drew McKenzie on Facebook. You can find Dan at PWWDMBBrand44 on all three social platforms, on Instagram, on Twitter X, and on Facebook. So if you want, you can reach out to us on those platforms. Also at The Shoot Show 1 on Instagram, Twitter X. We also have a Facebook group page. Diamond Podcasting Productions is at Diamond Podcasting Productions on Instagram. And apparently Twitter X, it's way too long of a name, so it's at D Production Podcasting. I don't even remember. D Podcastings, I think it is. D Podcastings on Twitter X. They also have a Facebook page as well, or we do, depending how you want to look at that. As Dan said, we are looking at adding additional shows in the hopefully not too distant future. We still have to talk through that a little bit, but that news will be coming soon, hopefully. And until then, catch us next week. We'll talk more wrestling and hopefully more news other than that. Hopefully Rhea Ripley will squash Liv. We'll have to see. But catch us next week. We'll find out. Until then, take care. Bye.